If you were born in Oklahoma, Sunday dinner no doubt brought tales of Sooner glory. The genius of Barry Switzer, the indomitable spirit of the Bob, and the relentless power of the wishbone. The battle cry from the North was unmistakable. Beat Texas. A childhood spent in Austin was once spent worshiping at a different altar. The brilliance of Darrell Royal, the thunder of Earl Campbell, and oh yeah, the wishbone. The echoes growing louder up I-35 beat Oklahoma. The rivalry's kept its tradition, but the game now is all Y2K. Josh Huepel and the Sooners lead the Big 12 in passing. Major Applewhite and the Longhorns score 41 points a game. It's the first Red River shootout of the new millennium. Next. The 95th edition of the Red River Shootout has national implications. ABC Sports welcomes you to Burger King College Football today. It is 10th-ranked Texas at 12th-ranked Oklahoma. Great to see you again, everyone. I'm Sean Grandy. You know, from the first day they put stakes in the Red River to separate them. Oklahomans and Texans have had one thing in common. They don't like each other very much, especially on this day, which has become something of a holiday, although today there'll be 48 other states watching very intently because for the first time in 16 years, both of these teams are ranked in the top 15. But before you all wax nostalgic, this is not your granddaddy's Texas-Oklahoma game. Gone is the clock-chewing wishbone in two of the top 6 passing teams in the entire nation. Through the first 93 meetings between these two schools, no quarterback had ever thrown for 300 yards. Last year, Major Applewhite and Josh Huepel both did. To Times Square Stadium in New York to get you ready for a big day, we join Terry Gannon and Terry Bowden.
All right, guys, thank you very much, and welcome to Times Square Stadium in New York and to Burger King College Football today. I'm Terry Gannon, in for John Saunders, who is on the injured list this week. John will be back next week. Terry Bowden alongside in his usual seat. What about Texas-Oklahoma now? The traditional rivalry, but the Red River Shootout has become a shootout. Where have the running games gone?
Well, just like old times, these are two top-ranked teams. But unlike old times on the field, these are not two running teams. That's what they used to do every year, great option teams. Now they throw it all the time. These are two 21st century offenses. They're going to throw the ball a lot, and whoever does it best is going to win this football game.
The first game of a college football doubleheader here on ABC Sports at 3:30 Eastern Time. Some of you will see the #1 team in the country, the Nebraska Cornhuskers, taking on Iowa State, a surprising team that came in Ames today. 2 unbeatens in the ACC. NC State at Death Valley to take on #5 Clemson. And in the Pac-10, Arizona at the Coliseum to take on USC. But first, Major Applewhite leads the way for Texas against Oklahoma in the Red River Shootout. Right after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Never mind the cold and the rain in Dallas, Texas today. I can promise you it is simmering right now in the Cotton Bowl. My pleasure to bring in David Norrie. He joins me upstairs today. And David, everywhere you go in the state of Texas, they're not talking about Gore and Bush. They're talking about Sims and Applewhite, the Texas quarterback controversy. But should there really be one?
Well, Sims is going to be a great one, and he might even get the start this afternoon. But when the chips are down, Texas goes with Major Applewhite. He's 2-0 against Oklahoma. He had the best passing day in the history of this rivalry a year ago. On the other side of the coin, Oklahoma, their whole program is centered around the quarterback position now. Josh Huepel, he's off to a red-hot start, hitting 67% of his balls. But the key to the game today, can Oklahoma protect him, and can they take care of the football on offense?
Major implications of the Big 12 South. Bevo's ready, so are we. Opening kickoff is next. Like most of the country, it is unseasonably cold here in Dallas today. Neither team has practiced in weather anything like this. 95th edition of this rivalry. If you have grown up with it, there are goosebumps on your arm. If you haven't, and this is your first time, fasten your seatbelt and put your seat in the upright and lock position. We are in for a wild ride. There is only one story when you talk to fans of the Texas Longhorns. Who will be at quarterback? I don't think there was a lot of question about Major Applewhite getting this start this week.
Yeah, and talking to the head coach for Oklahoma earlier this week, Bob Stoops, he said, no doubt about it, the difference in the game a year ago was Major Applewhite. We put him on the turf 15, 16 times, and he still made the big plays down the field in the passing game. I think he's the most underrated quarterback in college football, Sean.
Hard to argue against that. Oklahoma won the toss and deferred as they did last week in their game against Kansas and stopped the Jayhawks 3 and out. On first down, Applewhite gives to Hodges Mitchell, and he does not have much. We take a look at the Texas starting lineup, the chilly starting lineup, and here's an offensive line that loves its baby back ribs. They've actually trimmed down this year to an average 329 pounds per man. Leonard Davis, the Dancing Bear, will be a first-round pick. Hodges Mitchell, you saw on the first carry, a career-high 204 yards on the ground. In the game last year, Flowers and Healy will start at the wide receiver spot, but you will see the Texas triplets, the 3 true freshman receivers in this game today that have caused quite a stir for Texas. After a gain of a little more than a yard, 2nd and long for Applewhite, and this play will not get off.
Drive to the snap. False start. Up the 5-yard penalty.
Defensively for Oklahoma, an unheralded group. Freshmen don't have a great history of producing big in this game, say maybe Brian Westbrook a couple of years ago, but Corey Klein is a good one. At linebacker, Marshall is a stud. You will love watching Rocky Kalmus play, playing with a ton of injuries. J.T. Thatcher had 3 interceptions last week, but Roy Williams is playing as well as any safety in the country right now. 2nd and 13 now after the penalty for Applewhite. They'll try Mitchell again, and he's got nothing. Getting off to a good start has been a problem, really, for both of these teams this year. Mack Brown, now in his 3rd year at Texas, of course, was the offensive coordinator for Oklahoma back in 1984 in the famous game here at the Cotton Bowl. And, of course, Bob Stoops now in his 2nd year. What a job he has done at Oklahoma.
And for the first time in a long while, both of these programs seem very set and very comfortable with the head coaching positions, Mack Brown and Bob Stoops.
Texas has struggled on 3rd down early this year, and this is going to be a 3rd and 15 on their first 3rd down try. It's complete to one of the true freshmen, Roy Williams. He's got about 6. Oklahoma does exactly what they did at Kansas last week. They get the stop, the 3-and-out stop, which is why they deferred in the first place.
And weather obviously going to play a huge factor. Neither one of these teams has had a chance in practice here in the fall, in the early going of this football season to work with rain. We look at the Dell Game Solutions. Texas offense has to be 2-dimensional. They have to run the ball effectively, not turn it into a one-dimensional passing game with Major Applewhite. Oklahoma, they're going to have to put pressure on Applewhite, harass him in the pocket.
Texas has had a bunch of kicks blocked in the last couple of years. J.T. Thatcher will let this one roll. 37-yard punt by Chris Stockton, and Oklahoma will have excellent field position to begin their opening drive. It has been a circuitous route for young Josh Huepel from Aberdeen, South Dakota, through Weber State, Snow Junior College in Utah. But he has emerged at age 22 as one of the premier quarterbacks now in the country.
And Huepel's had some great work in the offseason with former Heisman runner-up Chuck Long. And Chuck Long, of course, 3-time first-team Big Ten quarterback, and worked a lot on the footwork, worked on the delivery, and Huepel operating even higher efficiency in the 2000 season.
If you've been in a time capsule, how bizarre must it be to see Oklahoma open in the shotgun, and on their opening play, Josh Norman has a first down. Chilly's starting lineups on the Oklahoma side, an underappreciated group, a lot of them playing new positions. They are typified by Bubba Bertram, a former walk-on who is now a captain and the leader of this offensive line. Quentin Griffin will start. He will split time with the true freshman Ronaldo Works. Andre Woolfolk is a playmaker in a very underrated group and a deep group of wide receivers for Oklahoma in support of the senior Josh Huepel, who had a brilliant start to this game 1 year ago, hitting 11 of his first 12 as Oklahoma jumped to a 17-0 first quarter lead. Huepel over the middle. Has Antoine Savage, and he's close to another Oklahoma first down. On the defensive side of the ball, a slow starting group for Texas. Hampton is one of the best in the country, but his partner, Sean Rogers, remains sidelined. That means the freshman, Marcus Tubbs, will make another start at the tackle spot. D.D. Lewis gets all the attention, but Texas coaches will tell you Everett Rawls is every bit his equal. A very talented group in the secondary. Jackson is healthy again. Quentin Jammer has an NFL future. Back-to-back first downs for Huepel out of the shotgun to begin. They try the middle screen, and this one is open for him. Savage has 8 more.
We're looking at our Dell game solutions for Oklahoma on offense. It's been the game plan all week long in preparation. Keep that number 14 jersey clean, protect Huepel in the pocket, and Texas's defense has a very talented front four. Even with Sean Rogers out, dinged up, Texas defense up front, very athletic. They need to get involved. They need to get into the backfield against Huepel.
Second and short. This could be a fun play for Huepel. It's the tight end Trent Smith who goes in motion. Huepel's got a couple of choices here. Flares it out a little too far for Trent Smith. And Oklahoma will face their first third down.
And getting back to the weather, Sean, and as I said, neither team has had a chance to practice in the rain, but the 49 degrees at game time, that's a problem too. It makes the ball even tougher to handle, and Huepel on the roll to his right, tried to use a little touch pass, drop it off for the first down, incomplete. Facing his first big third down conversion in this ball game.
You see the extraordinary numbers Texans put up defensively, leading the Big 12 in third down defense. Huepel going to go for the end zone, got a man, touchdown. Andre Woolfolk on a perfectly thrown ball by Josh Huepel, and just like a year ago, Oklahoma strikes quickly.
This is a perfect fade ball from Huepel. Great protection in the pocket. Babers, the cornerback, beaten, and the protection was not that bad, but Woolfolk, exceptional speed, did a nice job of giving Huepel a picture down the left sideline. Great work by quarterback and wide receiver.
Duncan will add the extra point. Did I tell you to fasten your seatbelts? We are just getting warmed up. Josh Huepel is already warm. Oklahoma by 7. Ninth touchdown pass of the year for Josh Huepel. He saw one-on-one coverage and he acted quickly.
Yeah, this was a heck of a bad weather throw by Huepel. The rain started to calm down a bit. Watch number 24, the free safety, Greg Brown. A little bit late coming over the top. He doesn't give Babers help quickly enough. Perfectly thrown ball and a nice play by Woolfolk on the outside.
Sitting on your couch thinking this is an instant replay of the start from 1 year ago. Out to the 18-yard line and buried with Ivan Williams. We continue with our Dell game solution.
Yeah, let's get back to those Dell game solutions for Texas on offense. They have to be two-dimensional. The Texas passing game well documented, but you can't let the Oklahoma defense start leaning on the passing game. On defense, don't let Texas get going on the ground. That'll set things up for their offense. Texas has been somewhat inconsistent running the ball this year, Sean. Had their best week last week against Oklahoma State.
Finally got the mix they were looking for in that game. Applewhite has plenty of time. And up close to a first down is Artie Ellis. Coming up next Saturday, another full slate of college football regional action, 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. We're bringing these Sooners against number 4 Kansas State or number 1 Nebraska battles Texas Tech. Some of you will see Indiana and number 6 Michigan. A game out of the ACC as Clemson continues to play well. Oregon USC could very well end up deciding the Rose Bowl. Might it not, sir?
That's going to be a key game out west.
Hodges Mitchell buried again, and talked about the difficulties, David, of Texas running the football. Well, Oklahoma clearly today, and they told us this, they're going to make Texas run the ball and prove they can do it, and they haven't yet.
And on the other side of the coin, the Texas offensive staff said, we're going to run right at the Oklahoma defense. They've got great athleticism and speed at the linebacker position. We feel we can have success going right at them, but Hodges Mitchell, a little bit more of a perimeter threat this year for Texas in the running game, and you see great play up front by the Sooners.
Hodges Mitchell had 204 yards in the game last year. His first 3 carries this year have netted -4. Applewhite to throw. Incomplete, but this play was blown down. It was so loud in the Cotton Bowl, I don't think people realized that Kenny Hyder, who replaced Hodges Mitchell, was the intended receiver.
It's going to be illegal procedure against the Horns. Driver snap. Full start. Offense. Fuck your penalty.
Steve Juszczyk is our official today out of the Big 12. Mack Brown joked this week, David, about getting his team. They've been starting so slowly, joking about getting him out in the parking lot and having a scrimmage a half hour before game starts because they have started so slowly and get themselves some contact. And in this kind of game where momentum constantly changes hands, if you don't have it on your side at the beginning, you could be looking at a big number on the other side of the scoreboard before too long. Texas failed on their first 3rd down try. Applewhite has Hodges Mitchell over the middle. If he can beat the one man, he'll have a shot at it. He does. Bounces off the second and has the first down. Derek Strait, the cornerback, had the last shot at Hodges Mitchell. And that's a big play by the Texas running back to get them their first down.
A super move after the catch by Mitchell. And Mitchell, the biggest part of Mitchell as a threat is his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield combined with his running ability. That's a Butkus candidate, a Butkus Award candidate, number 20, Rocky Kalmus, and Mitchell makes him miss. Beautiful play from the tailback position.
Remember, it is difficult for everybody to pivot, especially defensively, and get your footing on the wet field. And again, Oklahoma stacks against the run and stops them on 1st down. Well, college football on ABC Sports, brought to you by the Ford F-Series. The best-selling trucks are built Ford tough. By Dell, providing the infrastructure to power your e-business. By National Car Rental. So what are you waiting for? Let's go. And by Budweiser, with the crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer. Which will flow every year on Texas State Fair weekend. Applewhite being chased. Just gets rid of it. As I'm sure you're all aware by now, new rule in college football this year. Applewhite out of the pocket. And some Oklahoma fans who probably are aware of the rule, but yet they still didn't appreciate it.
The quarterback gets 5 yards either side of where the ball was originally set. He can throw the ball away, but the ball has to be beyond the line of scrimmage. Applewhite executed it there, and nice job by Mitchell, the tailback, to pick up the blitz. And this is classic Oklahoma defense under Bob Stoops. Take away the running game and then bring the heat on the pass rush.
Stoops, defensive coordinator, Kansas State and at Florida. Won a national championship with Steve Spurrier. Another 3rd and long for Applewhite. This time over the middle. He's going to be close to that 1st down. Mike Jones, the tight end, it appears he's about a yard short.
Well, this is a heck of a play by Jones. Taking a look at Applewhite in the pocket. Nice protection, and the ball's delivered high. Now, this is cold weather. It's wet outside. Nice job with the hands. And, you know, if you deliver the ball high in this type of setting, you're looking at an interception. Nice play by Jones to secure that catch.
You played in warm weather, David. Is the cold more an issue or the rain?
Well, the cold combined with the rain makes it doubly tough. This is really tough on the skill position athletes.
Thatcher will let it go. Takes a little bitty Texas roll down the 23-yard line where Oklahoma has had a picture-perfect start through the first 7 minutes of the ball game. They're back on offense when we return. Time for our Marriott moment. So many to choose from in this rivalry. I mean, where do you begin? when talking about Oklahoma, Texas. How about in 1984 when Texas came in #1 and Oklahoma #2? Here's the play they're still talking about. Keith Stansbury appears to have picked this ball off, but they say his feet were not inbound. That allowed Texas to hit a game-time field goal off the foot of Jeff Ward. Fred Akers would end up with a 15-15 tie for the Texas Longhorns. Texas lost the #1 ranking the following week and never regained it. That was 16 years ago. Off the first play from scrimmage, pass deflected at the line of scrimmage by Kalen Thornton, a true freshman. Here's another look.
Well, early on in this football game, the story, pretty nice job by the big fellas up front for Oklahoma, protecting Huepel, and it's a nice job there by Kalen Thornton getting a hand up.
Huepel off to the great start. Now it's a 2nd and long for the first time. He's going to have a 3rd long for the first time. We head to New York Times Square Stadium. An update on Michigan and Purdue. We welcome in Terry Gannon.
Sean, thank you. #6 Michigan on their first drive of the ball game at Ross-Ade Stadium. Drew Henson goes up top 7 yards to Marquise Walker. Gets to the end zone. The point after. It is 7-0 Michigan early on in West Lafayette. Sean.
Over Wisconsin in the driver's seat now. Facing a 3rd and long for the first time. Huepel thinks about running for it. Great decoy. He finds Griffin for a 1st down. Great awareness by Huepel to know exactly where the line of scrimmage was.
And that's been a big area of improvement for Huepel in the offseason. He's lost some weight. We talked about Chuck Long working on his feet. But this is just great poise at the quarterback position. See how he stalls a little bit before crossing the line of scrimmage? He knows where his dump-off man is. A nice play from the tailback position as well as Griffin secures the football, picks up the 1st down for the Sooners.
Led the Big 12 in total offense, passing, touchdown passes a year ago. I want to start he is off to for the 2nd straight year in the Red River Shootout. The defensive play made by D.D. Lewis, the middle linebacker, coming up to get Seth Luttrell, the fullback, on his first carry.
D.D. Lewis, he's one of the great linebackers in the Big 12 conference. When you talk about athleticism, he can run. He's a little bit undersized for a middle linebacker, and if he moves on to play on Sundays, and he probably will, he's going to either be playing outside or maybe even at the strong safety position.
They lose 2. Huepel, the shovel pass, which they use so effectively. Griffin popped several big plays with it last week, and he's got one here. Quentin Griffin is the ideal back, David, for the shuttle pass.
And they use this shuttle pass like a draw. They utilize it to slow down the pass rush. We talked about the talent of Texas up front. The ball dropped off to Griffin, and he is the perfect back. He has a great gift for starting and stopping. Perfect back for the shuttle pass. Make sure the catch. A nice job of advancing the football downfield.
26 yards on the catch and run. Quentin Griffin, 90% of his receiving yards are yards after the catch. Now he'll try some yards after receiving the ball. He is close to another 1st down near the 30-yard line. Oklahoma is having their way right now.
You talk about focal points for Oklahoma, especially on offense in the offseason. The big problem a year ago, the Sooners would jump out to leads, but they could not keep those leads. Take a look at Griffin's numbers early, but they could not keep those leads because they could not run the football when they needed to. And during the offseason, a lot of work to improve the running game, and it's starting to show here early in the 2000 season.
Look at this. 17 games now for Bob Stoops, the head coach at Oklahoma. His team has had the lead in every single game. Huepel on the sneak, scored a touchdown that way last week against Kansas. Here, he has himself another 1st down. And how about the start that Josh Huepel has had? He's thrown for nearly 100 yards. We only played 10 minutes.
And you mentioned it earlier, Sean. Kind of a mirror image of last year's game when Bob Stoops in Oklahoma jumped out to a 17-zip lead. But the rest of the way was uphill sledding for Oklahoma. Texas ended up winning that ball game, and again, it was largely due to the fact that they could not get a ground game going.
Huepel on first down. Now it breaks down. Flares it off. Complete. Matt Anderson, the senior tight end, with his first catch of the year. It is all working right now for number 14.
Yeah, you don't expect a number 2 tight end to make this type of catch. This is a beautiful play. Watch big number 90 go up. Took him a while to secure the football. It was loose, but he did bring the catch in just before he hit the turf. And he gives the Sooners a first down inside the 10-yard line.
The hero of this game will never be the guy you expect. First and goal now. That's Fagan, the receiver in motion, bottom of your screen. Huepel. Out of bounds, inside the 1. Trent Smith.
Well, hopefully we can take another look, because he might have crossed the goal line on this play. And Smith certainly thought so. Huepel again delivering the ball on time to the outside, perfectly positioned on the catch. Another look from a reverse angle. Pearson coming on the blitz. And tough to see whether he got the ball inside the cone.
Double tight end. Huepel will step to the line of scrimmage and calmly grab a timeout. Just like a year ago. Oklahoma scores quickly, and they are knocking on the doorstep again. If the Sooners can get one more yard, this won't matter, but it appears that Trent Smith was in the end zone.
Now we got a nice big picture right here. You're going to see Smith watch his right foot. He's going to step out of bounds. Even though he gets the football inside the cone, the right foot's out.
And now it's going to come down to at least a third down play, as Huepel kept it himself. Called by the officials in the corner. Now it forces Oklahoma into a goal line situation. Now remember, they haven't been in a ton of these situations. They have not been in a lot of close games. While Texas did have a close game in a loss at Stanford, Oklahoma has been excellent in the red zone and is off to this 4-0 start. It's number 12 ranking in the nation, but their schedule, as they are probably sick of hearing by now, has not been the most difficult coming into this game. But they have been as impressive as they could have hoped to be for the first 11 minutes of this one. Quentin Griffin is the setback. He'll get it on the option, and he's there. They better fire up the schooner, because Oklahoma's on a roll.
Now this is a nice job by Oklahoma by design. They find a numbers problem. This is 2-on-1. Griffin makes sure of catching the pitch, but that's just a nice job by Oklahoma offensively to get to that play. They option Cole Pittman, the defensive end. 2-on-1, touchdown Sooner.
Duncan adds the extra point. They may not be number 1 yet, but a performance like this could put them deep into the top 10. One more look at the Quentin Griffin touchdown, his 5th of the year.
Huepel comes out. He threatens Pittman, the defensive end, makes Pittman commit, and then just shuffles it off to Griffin. Here's an end zone view. 44 takes the quarterback. And a nice job, tough running down near the goal line as Richardson dives underneath Jammer for the touchdown.
I was surprised Jammer made that play as close as he did. Well, now, if you're a fan of the Oklahoma Sooners, you're looking up at the scoreboard saying, not so fast, not so fast. We saw this show a year ago. When Oklahoma ran off to a 17-0 lead, we were in Mack Brown's office on Thursday, David. He told us he went to go get a drink of water, came back, and his team was down by 17. That's the nature of this game.
Yeah, that's what can happen in rivalries. Momentum and emotion play a big part, and if you played in a couple of these games, you know how things can shift. And 17-0 lead for Oklahoma a year ago at the end of the first quarter. They gained more yards a year ago in the first quarter than they did in the final 3 quarters of that football game.
Duncan put a bunch of them through the end zone last week against Kansas. This one is returnable. Ike this time. They get Williams again. There is a flag down. Well, Monday night, how about this? The game of the week in the NFL is on Monday night. Keyshawn Johnson usually has a lot to say. This week, he and Warren Sapp will keep their mouths shut as they head into the Metrodome to take on Randy Moss and the Vikings. Minnesota undefeated. Tampa Bay 3-2. They would fall way back in that NFC Central race if they are not successful on Monday night. It was holding, adding to the Longhorns' first quarter problems here, and it gets to the point.
On the receiving team, half the distance, first down.
It's a rivalry game and things like this happen, but it has happened to Texas, David, all year. They have had these kind of starts almost in each of their 4 games.
Well, the only points in the last 6 games have come on defense, and on each of the first 3 possessions, the Longhorns have been taken back by a penalty.
They are now playing in the Oklahoma half of the Cotton Bowl. Well, the Sooner faithful are going to make it difficult for them. Hodges Mitchell gets a couple and takes a big pop.
I'll tell you what, the hitting has been intense when this Oklahoma defense has been on the field in the first quarter here. And Torrance Marshall is doing a great job at that middle linebacker position. I mean, he has laid the wood to several Longhorn ball carriers in this football game.
That defense has been able to tee off because Major Applewhite has been facing 2nd and long, 3rd and long the entire first quarter. Applewhite has time. And a man, great move by Montrell Flowers, and he's going to be up close to a first down, giving Major Applewhite at least a 3rd and short to look at.
Well, I'm a big Major Applewhite fan, and if you look at his performance at quarterback over the last 2 years, 2 wins against Nebraska, 2-0 against Oklahoma, really no quarterback in the country has played in more big games with the exception of Chris Winkie at Florida State.
They are throwing it just fine right now. Major is 5 of 6 to start the ball game, but Texas still in negative numbers in rushing yards. They need at least 1 on 3rd down. They're not going to get it. Roy Williams comes up to make the big play, and Texas, again, will have to kick it away.
Well, Oklahoma loves to get their safeties involved against the run game. Number 38, that is a big hit from Roy Williams. And the Sooners are getting great play from both of their safeties early in this football season. J.T. Thatcher, free safety. We mentioned he had 3 interceptions a week ago against Kansas. And what a hit by Williams.
Oklahoma will take a timeout. The second they have taken in this first half. Roy Williams, Bob Stoops said early in the week, is playing as well as any safety in the country right now. He was a cornerback. They moved him to safety, and, well, you just saw why, because he loves to hit. Well, the highly anticipated Gina Davis show premieres Tuesday night. I don't think she'll be wearing that dress she wore to the Emmys, but please tune in anyway Tuesday after Dharma and Dre. Gina Davis, Boston University grad, unlike myself, very talented actress. Texas wanted to run the ball. They said, we're going to run it right at Oklahoma. They have, and they have failed to this point.
Well, penalties have been a problem, and Major Applewhite, he's been hamstrung early in this football game by the field position. And with the weather, even though the rain has let up a bit, the weather compounds field position, especially in big games.
Chris Stockton has been a busy young man, but not the way he likes to be. He is both the place kicker and the punter on this Texas team, only the 3rd guy in the last 25 years to handle both responsibilities. J.T. Thatcher is going to have a shot to return this one. He will into Texas territory. Beats the first, but not the second, and Josh Huepel is going to be looking at a short field again. Well, coming up next, most of you will see the #1 team in the nation, the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Who would have imagined at some of the big showdown games today, David, involving undefeated teams, that would include Iowa State and NC State in the ACC?
I would like to tell you that I had anticipated that, but never in my wildest imagination.
Come on, go ahead.
Iowa State, and, you know, there's a lot of talk in the offseason about how that program was much improved and being proven on the playing field.
There are only 13 unbeaten teams remaining in 1A football, and one of them has a 14-0 lead here. Not much for Seth Luttrell. Greg Brown comes up to make the stop.
I made the point, Sean, that weather and penalties can compound problems in terms of field position, but I think that Sooner defense is compounding things and compacting things with the linebackers. They have been very active along with the safeties here today.
What a contrast to a week ago for Oklahoma defensively. They had a rough time against Kansas in the first half. Huepel under pressure, gets rid of it to Josh Norman. We'll call it incomplete with an out of bounds, and we'll bring up a 3rd and long for Josh Huepel.
Josh Huepel a year ago hit 62% of his passes. The Sooners obviously relied very heavily on his skills and put a lot of weight on his shoulders. But during the offseason, I think he's become an even better quarterback, with much better feet. You can see it here today, and he's become a better player outside the pocket.
Like a lot of his teammates, he is in much better shape in the year 2000 than he was a year ago. And it has paid off. He's got a world of time here, and a man over the middle, complete. Damian Mackey, 1st down or more. Now to the 26. A 16-yard pass play. 1st down, 2nd down, 3rd down. It hasn't mattered to Josh Huepel.
Texas loves to lock up man-to-man. This is Basher trying to hook up against Mackey in man-to-man coverage. And if you can give your quarterback time, as we look at the former Sooner great Brian Bosworth, if you can give your quarterback time with the man-to-man in the secondary, you can operate at quarterback.
Quentin Griffin is ripped down. Texas needed a big play on defense, and they finally get one from Basher. True freshman making a big play for Texas.
Basher, who had pretty tight coverage against Mackey on that last completion, beats the block. That's a super play. Good job of tackling by a cornerback in the backfield.
And that will do it for the first quarter. Texas gets a much-needed big play to end it, but they're down 14. ABC Sports presentation of college football will return after this message and a word from our ABC station. Hey, if you're sitting on your couch in Austin, you're 3 points better than you were a year ago. Texas trailed 17-0 at the end of one last year. Oklahoma with a 14-point lead and the ball, and a quarterback who's playing with a ton of confidence right now. Huepel's got a big gap. He will slide down inside the 13. Huepel, who started last year's game 11 of 12, is 9 of 12 this year and is making big play after big play.
The offensive line is making big play after big play. They have been the story here early. A nice decision by Huepel to pull the football down, move it downfield. But how about this offensive line? They lost Stalker McDougal, 1st-round pick in the draft. Matt O'Neill, the center, to graduation, and Jay Smith, the guy who played a big role, but they have been performing in this game.
Sooners are getting 8 yards of play to start the game. Savage barking about pass interference as he was covered by Basher. Just picking us up. It was all Oklahoma in quarter number 1. A 29-yard touchdown pass thrown by Josh Huepel to the sophomore out of Denver, Andre Woolfolk, and then on the action on 3rd and goal from the 1. Huepel pitched to Quentin Griffin. Oklahoma defensively has not just stopped Texas, they have stopped them with authority, and they have laid some pretty good licks on them here in the first half. Longhorns need to make a big play here. Huepel going end zone again for Woolfolk, and there's the big play. Flag is down. Jammer came up with the interception, but hold the phone.
Well, this could go against Oklahoma.
Sure could.
I thought Jammer played this pretty well, and it is going to go against the Sooners.
The big plays and momentum switches in these games come like clockwork. It is inevitable. Now
they say it's going to go against Texas, and the Texas players were celebrating and looked like the call was going to go the other way. Yeah, and there's a bit of a push-off there with the left hand. It was not only a one-handed interception, but a one-handed push-off by Jammer. And you don't catch it right there because it happened just a count earlier. Superb play on the interception on the catch, but there was a bit of a push-off, and they made the call.
And here comes Big Mo back wearing crimson and cream. First and goal. Griffin is in.
Well, Griffin's going to pick up his second touchdown, and we talked about the pass blocking by the Oklahoma offensive line. They're starting to get things revved up on the ground.
Duncan's extra point is perfect. And that adjective pretty much goes for the Oklahoma Sooners. Through the first quarter plus, they're up by 21. You notice how far they stay away from Bevo when the Horns are down by 21?
Don't mess with Bevo, especially their 3-touchdown deficit.
I don't think Bevo's been amused by the weather, by the atmosphere, and by the circumstances of this first half. The surprise of the Big Ten to this point this year has been Northwestern. Let's hit the Times Square Stadium, get an update on them from Terry Gannon.
Update, Northwestern hosting Indiana early on. Zach Kustak, 24 yards after the roll to Sam Simmons. Finds his way to the end zone. 7-0 then. A moment ago, Damian Anderson, a 1-yard run. It's 14-0 Wildcats. Sean.
Right, Terry. Northwestern is in good shape. They have a favorable schedule. See the numbers on Applewhite. The problems have been running the ball. This one is thrown behind Mike Jones. Applewhite's just his second incompletion in 7 tries. And fair or unfair, let me ask you about this, Dave. As we take one more look at this replay first.
Now the fake to Mitchell, the roll. Has a nice picture on the outside, just a misthrown ball, and that's a problem. 17-point lead for Oklahoma a year ago in this game, but it was nice weather, and it started to rain pretty heavily again. Oklahoma's sitting on a 21-point lead.
Now remember, this has not been Major Applewhite's fault, but the quarterback situation comes into play here at Texas. Applewhite throws it deep, has a man down there, and he had it, lost it, incomplete. It was Roy Williams, the true freshman, with his great speed, and he had a step, but the ball thrown in difficult conditions of rain and wind. Applewhite was not able to lead him.
And Williams, with the great sprinter speed, he secures the catch.
That was close.
But as he went to the turf, just before he came to the turf, the ball came loose. And this is a good call. Applewhite sitting in the pocket. Watch at the end of the play. The ball comes out, and you definitely have to give that call to Oklahoma. The ball was not brought in before he went to the turf.
Jeremy Wilson Guest, the defensive tackle, is the one who hit Applewhite. 2 incompletions in a row after a 5-for-6 start. Chris Sims waiting in the background, and down goes Applewhite. Torrance Marshall, the linebacker. They came at him hard on 3rd and long.
Well, it's hard to find a better duo of linebackers in the country, Kalmus and Marshall. And Marshall is having himself a football game early. And getting off block. He's had a couple big hits in the first half. And Texas, they have to punt this away, trailing by 21.
Huepel's uniform is clean, but Major Applewhite's getting that number 11 jersey dirty. Stockton. 4th kick, returnable for Thatcher. Center step, trying to get to the outside. He does, cuts back. breaks one, breaks two. He's got a shot at it.
J.T. Thatcher came to Oklahoma as a quarterback, and he's played some running back as well. Great vision, the cut back to the center of the field, and he had plenty of blockers out in front. Quentin Jammer with the saving tackle, and their flags on the field, Sean. This may be a celebration penalty after the whistle.
And while it will drive coaches crazy, a trade-off Sooner Nation will gladly accept.
Dead ball. Personal foul on the receiving team. 15 yards from the end of one. First down.
J.T. Thatcher in the top 15 in the nation in punt returns, and on this wet field, he's doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, the difference was a cutback to the center of the field. He makes 2 Longhorns, 3 Longhorns miss, uses the speed, picks up some blockers, and Jammer, great play just to make a touchdown-saving tackle. And now Oklahoma pretty close. In fact, they are in field goal range. Huepel wants to come up with a touchdown, but also wants to keep that 3 points in his hip pocket with the big lead.
Fagan around the corner. Inside the 5. Oklahoma ran that play last week with Woolfolk for a touchdown. Here, Fagan has them inside the 5.
Well, Oklahoma's 4-0, and they're playing well early in this football season. But I'm telling you, there's a lot of people across the country right now that are shocked. And Oklahoma, if they can finish off this drive, I mean, they're getting ready to run away and hide on this Texas ball club.
The machine keeps on rolling. Griffin's 3rd touchdown of the first half. And the rest of the nation will be awakening tomorrow morning to the reality of the dominance of this Oklahoma team. 4-0 and absolutely for real.
Well, Bob Stoops has seen this happen before at Florida. As a defensive coordinator for Steve Spurrier, he's seen Gator teams jump up quickly in big games like this. But I would have never dreamt 28-zip with 12:40 to go in the second quarter. My goodness.
It was almost unthinkable. Not that someone could jump to a 28-0 lead, but with the dominance on both sides of the ball.
Especially with the rain and the weather. 3rd touchdown for Griffin. And the execution by this offensive line has been wonderful for Oklahoma.
You know, they took, David, their criticism in the preseason to heart. All those nonsense magazines and preseason predictions. Well, Oklahoma's got problems on the offensive line. This group has taken it to heart. We talked about Bubba Burcham, Howard Duncan, Scott Kempenick. It is a group that has performed in their biggest game of the year beyond anyone's wildest imagination. When we check out our Aflac trivia question, talked about that number 11 that Major Applewhite is wearing. Well, before Major Applewhite donned it, who was the last Texas Longhorn to wear number 11? Think hard. Believe me, we wouldn't be throwing this one at you if it didn't have a little bit of a salty spin to it.
It's got a little twist to it.
Exactly, a little kick. Short kick. Short return, but decent field position for Texas. Another update from Michigan and Purdue back to Times Square Stadium. Terry Gannon.
Sean, thanks. The battle of the Drews. It's Drew Henson getting his way early on for the Wolverines. 4-yard touchdown pass to B.J. Askew. His 2nd touchdown pass of the game. It is 14-3 Wolverines right now in the second. Sean.
All right, Terry. Purdue it's a good football team, but not sure they're ready to play with those top teams in the Big Ten. Michigan is loving life. Talked about the vagaries of the polls and the BCS, so Michigan got their loss out of the way early. change at quarterback we have been speculating upon has been made. And on his first play from scrimmage, Chris Sims completes one to the tight end Mike Jones for 8 yards. In the past few games for Texas, David, it has been Major Applewhite coming off the bench after Chris Sims got off the slow start. Maybe the reverse is the momentum change Texas needs today.
And coming into this game, Sims had operated at quarterback for 20 drives for the Longhorns, 40 drives for Applewhite. So about 1/3 of the activity at quarterback going to Sims. He's a little bit better athlete. He can get outside the pocket, and he is developing. He's going to be a great one.
Sims rolling out of the pocket, gets rid of it. Sims, 6'5", the physical specimen.
The play action fake to the right side. Big Corey Callens, the defensive right end. Like his teammates on defense, playing with tremendous intensity. They're rallying to the football. This Oklahoma defense has shown up to play today.
Callens, like a lot of these Sooners, seniors. Callens making his 35th start in this game today and trying to go out in style as far as the Red River Shootout is concerned. Texas 1 of 5 on 3rd down. Barely get the playoff, and they get the first down. Sims to Roy Williams. It wasn't much, but it was good enough. There are flags down on the far end of the field.
I don't think they did get this play off.
I don't either.
And Sims was checking at the line of scrimmage. You could see him using hand signals to the outside.
Offense.
That is a killer. That
5-yard penalty.
will double you over if you're a coach.
Both coaches have a job to do during this week of preparation. Big rivalry week, getting their teams ready for the noise. And you have a young quarterback under center for Texas, Chris Sims. And he was trying to check late at the line of scrimmage, using those hand signals outside to the wide receivers. Didn't quite get the play off.
And remember, it is noise you don't hear anywhere else because the stadium is split in half. All the Oklahoma fans are in the end of the field that the Sooners are defending here in the second quarter. A big play comes, but the wrong way for Texas. Rocky Kalmus, touchdown. And just as the Longhorns were stumbling along the ropes, Rocky delivers one right between the eyes.
Well, this is the biggest game in this rivalry, the Red River Classic, since 1984, and Oklahoma is turning it into a laugher early. 35-0 if they're successful on the extra point, and Rocky Kalmus, tremendous anticipation, stepping underneath that quick slant. Wow.
College football on ABC Sports, brought to you by Chevrolet Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. By Chili's, I want my Chili's baby back ribs, only at Chili's. By Sprint PCS, the clear alternative to cellular. And by Aflac, without it, no insurance is complete. Well, at the rate this is going, the Texas State Fair is going to have some extra customers out at the Ferris wheel and out at the corn dog stand. If this continues, an extraordinary explosion by a team that people question entering this football game today, and their dominance is apparent in every facet, in every statistic you can look at.
The execution has been astounding. Offensively, the offensive line, the skill athletes, Huepel right on his game, and the defense has been unbelievable for the Sooners.
Another short kick into the wind by Duncan. And the second quarter alone, in which Oklahoma entered leading 14-0. Quentin Griffin's second touchdown of the day made it 21-0. After a 3-and-out, Oklahoma got it right back. Big punt return by J.T. Thatcher sent Quentin Griffin up with his third touchdown, and then what may end up being the knockout punch, ironically, is delivered by a guy named Rocky. A 37-yard interception return. And as you see, Major Applewhite has returned to replace Chris Sims. Quick out, flags are down as Montrell Flowers is out of bounds.
Pass to number 2.
Sean, Texas has not done a good job operating from the line of scrimmage in this football game. You got to be prepared for the noise. And this may be another penalty against the Longhorns.
Illegal motion on the offense. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, first down.
Mack Brown working the officials pretty heavily. Down 35-0. Applewhite right back in the football game. And not bad numbers for Applewhite. Penalties have played a big part. And if Texas wants to have any hope, they're going to have to put a couple touchdowns on the board in a hurry here in the second quarter.
Incomplete. Well, if you look at the number 11 jersey of Major Applewhite, earlier we asked her who was the last Longhorn to wear number 11 before Major Applewhite. Well, guess who? It was Ricky Williams. Lest you forget, Ricky Williams wore number 11 at the start of his career at Texas. Talking about freshmen who had difficulty in this particular game in the Red River Shootout. Ricky Williams is one of those. He did not have a good day in his game as a freshman here at the Cotton Bowl.
Of course, one of the 2 Heisman winners at Texas, along with the great Earl Campbell.
Applewhite and Roy Williams were on totally different pages. Well, they said, one of my favorite quotes of all time, they said of the great Earl Campbell, Bum Phillips did, he may not be in the class by himself, but it wouldn't take long to call the roll. I think Ricky Williams would be on that roll call as well.
With 2 of the top 6 or 7 backs in the history of college football, obviously. Major Applewhite coming off the knee injury in the bowl game a year ago. Very rapid progress. Coach is worried about his status coming into the season, and I think it's affecting his mobility. He's going to keep on throwing from the pocket. Big hill to overcome in this game.
Cutting back was Hodges Mitchell. Took a big hit and did not get to the first down. And for the Texas Longhorns, this has been like a snowball rolling downhill.
And Major Applewhite not being given much of a chance. On every possession, Texas has had a penalty that has created problems. And it seems as if they've started in a hole, and they have. Every possession in this football game, Oklahoma continuing to play well on defense.
They have been unable to stop it as that snowball has rolled down the hill. Fair catch called for by Thatcher. It has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. That snowball is now out of control. The Longhorns hoping they have more than a snowball's chance. An explosive first half for an Oklahoma team which has made a name for itself as an explosive team offensively over the last couple of years in college football through the air. But today, it's been old school Oklahoma football in the trenches where they have won every single small battle in a field possession game, and that has set it up for Josh Huepel to throw some major league haymakers. Well, coming up next, most of you will see number 1 Nebraska in the battle of undefeated. Who would have imagined? Against Iowa State plus other regional action, Ohio State and Wisconsin. Another battle of undefeateds in the ACC with NC State and Clemson. Some of you will see Arizona against number 16, USC. Oklahoma will be going a lot more to the ground. Griffin makes his man miss. Everett rolls the linebacker and then turns the corner for another Oklahoma first down. This is a slippery, elusive back. The adjective you'll always hear is water bug-like.
He's low to the ground, and he's the back that Oklahoma likes to use on that shovel pass, perimeter runs, and eventually they'll spell him with Ronaldo Works, who's a bigger, more physical runner, true freshman. But what a game Griffin has had early. 3 touchdowns already.
Griffin is a sophomore. They wanted to redshirt him, but they had to yank that redshirt off it last year. because of injuries. He slips here, and finally, it is Mother Nature puts up a little resistance for Oklahoma that Texas has not been able to this point.
We may have a couple viewers raise their eyebrows when I say this game isn't over, but it really isn't. And one of the big reasons, Texas obviously explosive on offense, but Oklahoma's offense is geared to throw the football. Incomplete passes, the clock stops. And things can bog down in a hurry if you don't develop a run game. Last year, we talked about the 17-0 lead, certainly not a 35-zip lead, but Texas in this one if they can get something going on offense here in the second quarter.
David and I, we're not going to lie to you. It looks like a big score now, but in this game, anything can happen. That's the look of a puzzled man.
Mack Brown mentioned that he looked up a year ago, 17-0 lead on the board. He's had plenty of time to watch the scoreboard light up in this one.
You see those numbers. Texas had only been giving up about 3.5 yards per play, about half of what Oklahoma has been able to do to them. There are flags in the secondary, and that run by Latrell on second down. One of the most difficult things, another thing Mack Brown told us about this game, that becomes difficult for the coaches.
Illegal participation on the defense. 15-yard penalty. First down.
One of the things he told us is how difficult it can be to get your team up for the next game because so much emphasis is put on this. But if Oklahoma continues to roll this way, they are going to cruise into Manhattan next week with a very small number next to their team name in those national rankings.
And both teams have tough games coming up next week. Of course, Texas at Colorado and Oklahoma even tougher at K-State in Manhattan.
37-yard line. First down 10 from that point.
Ronaldo Works, who we talked about, the true freshman, is now in as the tailback. Offset to the right of Huepel here on first down. He breaks down Huepel with plenty of time. He's got Works up close to yet another Oklahoma first down. Well, Purdue is on the board. Back to New York and Terry Gannon.
Sean, thank you. After the A train, Anthony Thomas went 61 yards, taking it to the house for the Wolverines to make it 21-3. A record-setting touchdown pass by Drew Brees, 25 yards to Vinny Sutherland. It is 21-10. Brees now with 75 touchdowns, the most ever by a Big Ten quarterback. Sean.
Huge numbers, Terry. You wouldn't be able to cut back like that on this field at the Cotton Bowl here today, where the rain has continued, light rain off and on. It has been overcast and dreary pretty much since yesterday morning. Griffin back in the game on second and short. It looks like he is a little bit short of that first down.
Both teams talking all week long about how this is a whole season contained in 1 week. And the fans all fired up. Not a lot to root about if you're a Texas Longhorn fan. And I think most of the Texas faithful just stunned looking at the scoreboard right now.
Which makes me ask you, what on earth, if you're Mack Brown, do you say to your team at halftime after so much emphasis has been put on this game?
Well, hopefully in the next 7 minutes and change, Texas can get something to work with. And what I mean by that is if they can get a touchdown or two on the board, they have life. But not as long as they're allowing Oklahoma to pick up yards on the ground and pick up first downs. And if this thing is 35-0 going into the locker room and you're Mack Brown, I think you start playing for pride.
The football gods who love to throw screwballs at this game seem to throw us one on that apparent interception by Quentin Jammer that was overruled. The ball later went back to Oklahoma. Instead, the game has completely turned the other way, and you see what Oklahoma has done. Chewing up clock. More flags.
Now, you're right, Sean. That was a big play, and that could have gone either way. Initially, it looked like the penalty was going to be called against Oklahoma. Terrific play by Jammer. The one-handed interception, but he was flagged. that point on, it has been all Oklahoma.
Now, if you love the game like we do and want to know more about this rivalry, there is plenty about it in ABC Sports All-Time All-America Football Team, available in bookstores now. For more info, go to bcsfootball.com. Rick forward
Repeat first down.
by Keith Jackson. It's a great piece on Brian Bosworth in there. Great pictures of the Bos, who we saw earlier today down at Oklahoma sideline. And you don't feel that rain and cold as much when you're on that Oklahoma sideline up by 35. Wolfbrook, who had the first touchdown in this game on the middle string, gets some of the real estate back.
And looking back to the last national championship team for Oklahoma back in 1985, and Dante Jones was a pretty good linebacker alongside Bosworth on that team. The third and final national championship for Barry Switzer. 6 national championships to be spread through the history of this great Oklahoma program.
Bosworth wasn't too dominating that year, was he? Huepel, Flares one, complete Josh Norman. And what a combination this has developed into over the last couple of weeks. Josh Huepel to Josh Norman, the junior, out of Midland, Texas. And don't think the Texas players, the players from this state, don't love getting it done against the Longhorns.
Are you kidding me? I mean, this is a beautiful ball, but an even better catch.
In the rain.
And in the weather, and Norman, I mean, just a super grab. His brother plays down at Texas Tech. Great player in his own right. And Norman using his size on the outside.
Works the true freshman. Takes a big shot in the back. That one is going to leave a mark. It was Casey Hampton taking out some of his frustration on the true freshman from Tulsa, Ronaldo Work.
Well, and both of these teams coming into this game have, you know, thoughts and a shot at a national championship if they run the board. Nice shot of the inside running and the tough going against that Texas defensive front, but Oklahoma just comfortable to mix things with the run and pass. And as long as Huepel takes care of the football, they can mix some passing.
Luttrell tripped up at the line, falls forward. Well, Texas, you're right, David, because they were ranked high to start the year. Their loss was not a convincing one. It was an early season loss on the road at Stanford. They were right in the mix. If they were to win this game today, they would have had the inside track with a schedule this year that has them not playing Nebraska or Kansas State. They could have walked backwards practically into the Big 12 championship game. Instead, now Oklahoma will take the driver's seat in the Big 12 South if they can go to 5-0.
Oklahoma still has to look at Kansas State and Nebraska and a potential matchup against either one of those teams in the Big 12 championship game.
Luttrell is inside the 10. First and goal, and another third down conversion. Oklahoma is 6 of 7 today on third down.
Well, how about Seth Luttrell? Great blocker, unbelievably tough player. You know, what really stands out about number 35 is his toughness. And there's a lot of experience, both offensively and defensively, on this Oklahoma team. It's really showing up this afternoon.
Well, Seth Luttrell knows a little bit about this game. His daddy was a fullback at Oklahoma before him back in the mid-70s. Huepel will go shotgun on first and goal. End zone, incomplete. First and goal, 4-receiver shotgun, just like old-time Oklahoma football, right?
Well, there was a day when the wishbone reigned with these two programs, but things changed. We talked about the Y2K offenses, and they split Anderson. Big tight end out wide. He made a great catch in the first quarter. That would have been an even better catch if he brought that ball in.
Anderson, like so many of his teammates, battle back through injury. Conditioning, training was an issue under previous coaching regimes at Oklahoma. A lot of these players have battled through a lot of adversity, but today there has been no adversity. Touchdown, Fagan. And the eyes of Texas have been blackened at the Cotton Bowl today. Well,
This is an end around. Fagan, one of the trio of freshman receivers to have a big year in '99 and a year older, a year more mature. Fagan just uses his speed to win the race to the corner.
The busiest guy on the field has been Tim Duncan kicking extra points. He is now 6 for 6. I know we told you anything can happen in this game, but who could have imagined this? 42-0 Sooners. What a contrast at the Cotton Bowl today. I mean, two halves of the field, which traditionally are split between red and orange. Well, the contrast now is between uproarious celebration and shocked, silent disbelief. 75,000, one of the toughest tickets in the state of Texas to get all year long. The game, if you are not aware, is played in Dallas because it is equidistant, as we like to say, between the two campuses of Norman, Oklahoma, and Austin, Texas, each about a 3-hour drive away. Norman, of course, to the north, Austin to the south. But there has been nothing equidistant about the yardage in this game. The dominance of the line on both sides of the football, and simply an unfathomable 42-0 score on the board. Major Applewhite completes the short one to Artie Ellis. Clock will keep on rolling.
Now this rivalry has been played in Dallas since pretty close to the turn of the century and moved to the Cotton Bowl in the late 20s. The stadium hasn't seen this lopsided score in the first half in a long time.
The biggest margin of victory in the history of this game was 45 points. Oklahoma shutting out Texas 45-0. Look out for another one. Almost picked off by Ante Jones. There are flags down.
I think Derek Strait's going to be hit with a flag here. Cornerback for the Sooners.
In fact, there has been some talk.
Pass interference on the defense. It'll be a spot foul. Automatic first down.
Well, there'll be some talk coming up at the half. Our Valvoline halftime with Terry Gannon and Terry Bowden. Coming up in New York, get you caught up on the scores of all the early games like this one. Can't wait to hear what Terry Bowden has to say about the score we are looking at right here.
First down from the 30-yard line.
Coming up at the half, Terry will sit down with his brother, Clemson coach Tommy Bowden, discusses sacrifices for success. Welcome to Bowden's get together. Finally, a big play. Hodges Mitchell into Oklahoma territory.
Handoff on the play goes to Hodges Mitchell.
Now you talk about a long time coming. End zone view, sitting in the shotgun, the underneath handoff. And for the first time in this ball game, we get a look at the explosive speed up the gut by Hodges Mitchell.
But now the Longhorns will have to go into the Oklahoma half of the Cotton Bowl. And the Sooner fans are waiting for it. Applewhite has all day, has a man middle of the field, another long pass play and a first down. Brandon Healy. And it's been the seniors today, the upperclassmen, David, in this rivalry game. Healy and Montrell Flowers who have made the calming play.
Yeah, Healy's the wily veteran, and a nice job by Applewhite to sit in and give Healy a chance to get open and average. Pretty stiff hit right there from the safety position.
By far, Texas' deepest penetration of the first half. They've got to make it count. Applewhite, the fade, has Williams, end zone, flag flies. They got the interference call again on Derek Strait.
I'm not quite sure that ball was catchable, but certainly a lot of bumping going on the outside. That's Strait once again. He used the left arm. And even though the ball was uncatchable, they may still call pass interference here.
Pass interference on the defense. Spot foul. Automatic first down.
And Mike Stoops, one of the co-defensive coordinators, pretty hot. And the reason, you know, On an uncatchable ball, you're not supposed to drop the flag there. And at the worst, you get a defensive holding call.
A fascinating coaching staff they have put together here in Oklahoma. Boy, have they ever done their homework heading into this one. Applewhite on play action sails it out of the end zone. Flowers was the only one in the remote vicinity.
Yeah, that was not Major throwing the ball away. That was a wet ball. You could tell the football did not come off his hand in good shape. And we mentioned early 21-zip lead. It was not raining that hard, and then the rain started up again.
Don't forget, if you're watching at home, the cold that neither one of these teams has seen to practice in this year. Applewhite again. Overshoots Brandon Healy. First time today Texas has been in the red zone where they have been exceptional through the first 4 games.
Both teams have been very, very efficient in the red zone. Only one possession for each of these teams has gone awry in the early season.
Texas 11 of 12 this year on first and goal-to-go situations, but you see their third down conversion numbers today. And here is 3rd and 8. And the Longhorns get something on the board. You bet they can. Hodges Mitchell. Touchdown, Texas.
Well, Texas going to go for one here. They bring Applewhite and the squad up. And how about Major Applewhite? Checks 1, 2, 3 choices. Knows where his check down route is. Puts a little handle on that ball for his experienced tailback. And Texas finally has some points to show for their effort.
Stockton adds the extra point. If there was ever a game, ever a situation, ever a rivalry in which maybe the craziest finish of all time in college football could happen, well, this would be the place and this would be the time.
Well, if I'm Texas with all the talent that I have, with Major Applewhite, Chris Sims at quarterback, skilled position athletes, I start treating every possession as a clock drive. Texas has 3 timeouts left here in the first half. I would use those timeouts to try to get the ball back in my offense's hands, try to cut the lead with another touchdown, or at worst, a field goal. And then in the second half, you're looking at maybe going no huddle the whole way. If Oklahoma scores another time or two, this one's over. In fact, it already might be over.
Well, throughout the day, we bring in some of the great moments from the rivalry in recent times. We told you that Ricky Williams struggled in his first game back in 1995, coughing it up here. Jeremy Alexander had a chance for Oklahoma to win the game, but a high snap, he hooked it left, and it ended in a 24-24 tie.
Like all great rivalries, some of the best games end up in ties before they change the rule with overtime. And Applewhite with the numbers early, but not good enough numbers to quell the Sooner wave that swept over the Cotton Bowl.
And in fact, in this game, in the first year of overtime in Division I-A football in '96, this game went to overtime. For the first time today, the sun is now trying to break through the clouds. Ironically, coming as soon as Texas got in the end zone. Texas has been an exceptional kick coverage team in the first half of this 2000 season. But not here. Savage to the 45. Even the things that Texas has been doing better than anybody else in the country have failed them here in the first half of the Cotton Bowl. Well, coming up next Saturday, a full slate of college football regional action, 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. We'll bring you the Sooners against number 4 Kansas State or number 1 Nebraska against Texas Tech. Some of you will see these games, Indiana and Michigan. The game in the Pac-10 that may very well decide who's going to be in the Rose Bowl between Oregon and USC. Check the local listings at ESPN.com, keyword ABC. college football.
Well, Texas prospects of getting some more points on the board here in the first half just improved. A blocking infraction against Oklahoma on the return. They'll start at their own 20, and anybody watching saying, yeah, it's 35 points, no way Texas can come back from that type of deficit. Remember, last year, Texas scored 38 points in 3 quarters against Oklahoma.
Luttrell on first down. There's another healthy chunk of yardage. Well, how big, barring a Texas-sized comeback of that variety, how big all of a sudden does Oklahoma-Kansas State look next week?
Well, and not only Oklahoma-Kansas State, but then they get the Huskers 2 weeks later. They get a bye, and then they get to look at the Huskers. Now, fortunately for the Sooners, that'll take place in Norman. But, this Texas defense is not matching up well against the Sooners. And if the defense doesn't stiffen, things are going to look even bleaker.
Works is held up right at the first down marker. It appears they are going to spot him across the 30, which should give Oklahoma the first down. The Sooners have the 3rd toughest remaining schedule in the entire country, and the entire history of this program, they are talking about these 3 games as being perhaps the toughest 3-game swing in the history of Oklahoma football.
Yeah, it's definitely murderer's row.
You see what the teams that Oklahoma will play have done. That includes Texas going into this game today. Still, of course, A&M remaining on Oklahoma's schedule. Their team is going to have a lot to say about the Big 12 Southwest. Works. Starts to the outside, knows he has to get it back in to keep that clock rolling. Ronaldo Works, like a lot of true freshman running backs playing in big-time college football, tend to think a little bit too much. Try to get to the outside instead of running the play they are supposed to run. Works ran into that obstacle the first couple of weeks, but he's been the limited action here in the first half. He has been running in the correct gaps.
Well, and the offensive coaching staff for Oklahoma called them growing pains. You're a young back, and sometimes you're supposed to keep the ball inside when it's designed to go outside, or vice versa. But just like at the quarterback position, those things take time, and they come with experience.
They'll be talking about those total yard numbers tomorrow. And here are some more experience for Works, and maybe the biggest number they'll be talking about in the Sunday paper tomorrow is 3rd down conversions. As Oklahoma's about to face another 3rd down situation here. They are 6 of 7 against the Texas defense in the first half. Play clock, sorry David, play clock is now at 10, 9, 8 seconds remaining, so you see they'll snap it with about 9 on the clock.
Texas electing to keep all 3 timeouts in their pocket, not try to get the football back.
They would probably make the punt if they had to, but Luttrell gets the first down, and that is going to do it for a first half they will be talking about in Norman for decades to come. The Oklahoma Sooners have made a huge impact on the national scene. They have dominated their arch rival in the first half. Stay tuned for Valvoline Halftime 2000 after this message and a word from your ABC station.
Valvoline Halftime 2000. You can always tell the guys who use Valvoline.
The University of Oklahoma is on the move. Among public universities, OU ranks #1 in National Merit Scholars enrolled per capita, in the top 5 in Rhodes Scholars graduated, and has almost tripled the number of endowed professorships in just 6 years. OU is home to a new Natural History Museum, the largest in the world at a university. And OU's Art Museum just received the single most important gift of art to a public university in U.S. history. Keep your eye on the University of Oklahoma, setting the pace for excellence.
A good look outside Times Square Stadium here in Midtown Manhattan, always buzzing with activity. So to the ESPN zone right down the street, fans enjoying a very busy college football Saturday. Welcome back inside the Valvoline Halftime 2000. Terry Gannon back along with Terry Bowden. A little bit later today at 3:30 Eastern Time, some of you will see a pair of unbeatens in the ACC. NC State taking on number 5 Clemson. And your brother Tommy's got it rolling at Death Valley. Obviously a very unique experience for both of you growing up in your father's household.
You know, you're right, Terry. You know, being the son of a famous and successful football coach, it doesn't take a giant leap to follow the same path, even if that road is full of pressure, stress, heartbreak, and very little family time. In spite of that, 3 of Bobby Bowden's 4 sons took that path anyway. I visited with my brother Tommy earlier this week, and we talked about coaching, our father, and what it costs to reach your dreams. In the Bowden family, we were all expected to excel, but there was a protocol, the oldest first and the younger kids to follow. None of us doubted that if we put in our time, we would succeed, even if a head coaching job was the goal. When I was named head coach at Auburn, I threw the system out of whack. My older brother Tommy was an assistant there, and he had to either quit or report to me.
Well, originally I went to Auburn with Coach Dye, and I was about 36, and I thought, gosh, I'll stay here about 4 years. He'll retire. I'll get the head job and hire Terry. This will be perfect since he is the younger brother. Then you get the job. Very humbling in your experience. I didn't work 15, 16 years assistant. Go work for your younger brother. So I've worked hard. Why can't I have the same opportunity?
With Tommy acting as my offensive coordinator, we took Auburn to its first ever 11-0 season in 1993. I'd like to think this didn't hurt Tommy in his quest for his own head coaching job. When he finally got an offer from Tulane in 1997, he didn't squander it, taking their perennially weak program to 11-0 in his second season as head football coach. Now at Clemson, Tommy continues to succeed. But as we saw with Dad, the higher a coach climbs, the greater the sacrifices he must make. I do remember growing up that as Dad coached, he never was home very much. How did you handle Dad being gone all the time?
I think Mother and Dad have been married for over 50 years now, and the way we saw him handle a family and a marriage, to me, was assumed the way to do it.
And that he never saw many, if any, of your football games in high school or baseball, that he never saw many like most fathers do. That didn't bother you.
I think my daddy went to 2. One because the other team had a prospect. He was there watching him, happened to be playing. And then the other one, I think he was lost on the way to work and saw light. But I didn't think anything of it.
It's ironic that our dad is renowned for his fatherly persona, and yet he was so driven in his career, he didn't spend much time at home.
That is true, and I do regret it. I just think a football coach has such an opportunity to help others, sons that are growing up maybe without a father. You know, 50% of them don't have fathers. They need a father figure. I really feel I have a guilty feeling I didn't spend more time with my sons. But you know, now they got to face the same thing with their children.
You can see how special college football is to all of us in the Bowden family, but also the sacrifices that are involved. You know, Terry, I've got 5 children under 10 years old, and I'm enjoying this analyst work right now.
You don't lose on a college football Saturday.
I'm undefeated.
Big day for the Bowden family, obviously, and for Tommy down at Death Valley at 3:30 Eastern. Some of you will see the Clemson Tigers taking on undefeated North Carolina State in the ACC, or number 7 Ohio State trying to remain undefeated against an angry bunch from Wisconsin. The number 1 team in the nation, Nebraska, taking on Iowa State, a surprising team in Ames. Or out on the West Coast, Arizona taking on number 16 USC. The Trojans coming off a difficult loss at Oregon State. We roll on from Times Square.
In a rivalry and a series that has produced so many surprising scores, this one has to go right at the head of the class. 42-7 Oklahoma at the half. They won the coin toss, took that momentum, and did not look back. They went on defense first, stopped Texas 3 and out, then Josh Huepel went to work, finding Andre Woolfolk a 29-yard touchdown. That got him going at 7-0. Great punt returns, great play at the line of scrimmage, particularly by the offensive line. Huepel had a lot of second and shorts to work with. Quentin Griffin, not one, not two, but a natural hat trick. 3 consecutive touchdowns for Griffin. It was 28-0. And here's the play that may have put the lights out. Rocky Kalmus playing with a cast on his left thumb, so he had to hold the ball with his right hand. The senior linebacker on the interception return, the junior linebacker interception return for a touchdown. Chris Sims would dump one off to Hodges Mitchell to finally get Texas on the board in the closing moment of that first half, but an extraordinary first half by the Oklahoma Sooners. Talked about Texas in their kickoff coverage. Chris Sims threw the interception to Rocky Kalmus. Applewhite threw the touchdown. We've seen them both. It has been cold and raw and raining here in the Metroplex the last couple of days. Bevo, who was not amused, I think, of the conditions at the start of this game, is not someone you want to hang out with right now. The Bevo's handler is getting farther and farther away as the day goes on. And I don't blame them. Savage at the 7th. And even kick coverage for Texas, which they have dominated. They don't today, but if you look at the Morgan Stanley Dean Witter first half stats, all the numbers are pretty ugly from the Texas side of things. The Texas Longhorns have been giving up fewer than 4 yards per play for their first 4 games of the year, but they're giving up 7 per play to an Oklahoma team that has dominated the line of scrimmage. 3rd down conversions, David. Extraordinary numbers.
Yeah, the 292, a pretty ugly number. And, you know, when you look back and you assess the first half, great execution by Huepel in the offense, a big half for the Sooner defense. And, you know, the Texas defense, frankly, pretty soft.
Huepel, who had a brilliant first half in last year's game, might have topped that here today. He struggled in the second half, and his first throw in the 3rd quarter is a bad one, intended for Savage.
Now, Texas has to try to extend this game, and if Oklahoma puts another touchdown on the board, I think you'll see Mack Brown just shut things down. But until that happens, Texas has to invite the pass, continue to invite the pass by Oklahoma, keep the clock stopped, and then maybe we'll see a little no huddle by Texas early in the 3rd quarter, try to narrow this huge lead if they can.
Texas did not use their timeouts when they had the opportunity late in the first half. Huepel's throw is almost picked off. He's human. Now, we talked about a rivalry in a game that has produced some crazy things in the second half. Well, Texas has been a team that has dominated their games in the second half. Remember, their game with Oklahoma State was a 3-point game when they began the second half last week. And this rivalry in this game in the second half is like the Jeopardy lightning round. The scores can really change. 3rd and long. Huepel and the Sooners were 7 of 8 on 3rd down in the first half. They are 0 for 1 in the second half, although Trent Smith was wide open and flat out dropped it.
Yeah, that was a pretty solid throw from Huepel. For the first time in a while, he was facing some pressure in the pocket, and a little bit surprised that Smith didn't lay out to make that catch.
Only 25 seconds come off the clock, so you know, at least in the mindset, if Texas can come down and score right away here, might put Oklahoma, at the very least, back on their heels and a little less sure of themselves. Playing in a game in which they know from past experience anything can happen. First time today we see Josh Ferguson, and he is a good one. This one held up by the wind or angle out of bounds. Good field position for Texas to start the second half. Well, tomorrow on ABC, last season, Michelle Kwan captured the World and the U.S. National Championships. Now the road to gold begins again when ABC Sports presents the Kerry Lotion Figure Skating Classic tomorrow at 2 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock out on the West Coast.
And that's really been the story, Sean. You mentioned we hadn't seen Ferguson, the punter, yet. Not one appearance in the first half. In fact, the only
time that the Sooner offense was stopped, they stopped themselves. They ran out the clock and headed into the locker room with a 42-7 lead.
Major Applewhite holds 37 school records for Texas. If he can pull this one off, he can rewrite all of those. They will remember him forever. He needs big plays in the second half, and we have seen quite a few of those. In fact, last week on ABC, that 96-yard touchdown, the second longest in school history, 1 yard shorter than the 97-yarder, also owned by Major Applewhite. That play came at this exact time in the game, very early, opening series of the third quarter.
Texas, talk about the slow start in the first quarter against Oklahoma last week. Slow start in the entire first half against Oklahoma State.
Applewhite hangs in there and is picked off. J.T. Thatcher had 3 interceptions last week, and he opens the third quarter with his 6th of the year. First down, Oklahoma. Extraordinary.
Well, any remote hopes of a comeback may have died with this throwing decision by Applewhite. The pressure by Kalmus, the hit in the pocket, and Thatcher. I mean, this kid plays the ball in the air as well as any secondary player I've seen in the country this year. 6 interceptions, as you said, Sean, and he came into this game number 2 in the country in the interception department.
Oklahoma, which went 3 and out, taking no time off the clock on their first possession, will get it right back. Huepel's going to throw. Has a man. Josh Norman caught it, dropped it, and he's got it back inside the 2.
The pass from Josh Huepel to number 3, Josh Norman.
Every play, every inch, every loose ball, it is all gone the way of Crimson and Cream.
You know, and Huepel's arm strength has improved. I have been very impressed today. There were some questions in my mind coming into this game whether he could put some zip on the ball when he needed it. Great ball from Norman to Norman. And how about Norman's play to make the recovery with Jammer closing in?
How about Griffin for his 4th touchdown of the day? There are flags down.
However, there is a flag down on the play.
Offside. Defense. Penalty decline. Touchdown.
You see right there, Roderick Babers, the cornerback, in the neutral zone. Oklahoma, as they did throughout the first half, didn't faze them, continued to execute.
And as a result, the numbers on the scoreboard are daunting. 4 touchdowns in the Red River shootout for Quentin Griffin. 49 reasons to smile and counting. Fans of the Oklahoma Sooners, boy, how much fun is that 3-hour drive going to be back north? 4 touchdowns by Quentin Griffin. First time a Sooner has ever had 4 touchdowns in this game against Texas. They have never scored more than 50 points in one of these games.
Victory on the negative return. Brings the ball back to the 22-yard line, back to the 23-yard line.
It has been a game, a rivalry, a series, David, which we talked about, in which unpredictable things happen, strange plays, bizarre numbers. And Oklahoma had 28 on the board early in the second quarter in this one today. You see their record in program history. We have seen all of those crazy plays, the big plays, the interceptions. The difference today, every single one of them has gone Oklahoma's way. Sims in at quarterback, and now the natives on the Texas side are starting to get restless.
Well, and there's a reason why those big plays go your way. And it's been an offensive line for Oklahoma that from the opening play of this football game was ready to execute up front. protecting Huepel beautifully. Huepel with some great balls to open up the game. The touchdown throw to Huepel, he's been right on the money. And this Oklahoma defense has been superb.
Chris Sims just 1 of 3. One of the incompletions was an interception for a touchdown, and he almost throws another one to Thatcher. Look at Michael Thompson on the coverage. Oklahoma has forced a barrel load of turnovers this year.
And here's the break on the football. Sims taking a little bit longer than he should to get the ball out. And Thompson, an excellent opportunity to come up with yet another interception for the Sooners.
17 takeaways for Oklahoma in their first 4 games, second in the nation. And 2 today that have gone for big yardage. Sims' struggle continues, and Roy Williams, the true freshman wide receiver, has simply not been effective.
And Sims jawing on Williams a little bit right now. He's not talking to an official. He's talking to number 4. And I think Sims might have had a problem with the route or lack of route run by Roy Williams on that last play.
On his way clean, Thatcher can return this one. But he lost his footing. Finally, something goes wrong for Oklahoma. The college football on ABC Sports is brought to you by the new 2001 Pontiac Bonneville. Luxury with an attitude. By Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. Move your money, get well connected. By Dr. Pepper and your local Dr. Pepper bottler. Dr. Pepper makes the world taste better. And by BASF. We don't make a lot of the products you buy. We make a lot of the products you buy better. It's the reason that they don't have nutritional information on a lot of that stuff you get at the State Fair. You got to have a Huepel thrown for Wolfolk and it was knocked away incomplete. You have to have a heart full of courage and an iron cast stomach to attempt some of the things they will try. But you know what I always admire about state fairs? There's nothing they won't try to fry. There's nothing. There's nothing you can't get on a stick either. They'll try anything.
They had that sign at one of the concession stands yesterday, fried corn.
How about fried pickle? See that one yesterday?
Fried pickle. Tasty.
And how about a fried secondary, courtesy of Josh Huepel today. Here comes the shuttle pass. Griffin gets the block he needs, and now he's got a lot of real estate and another first down.
Pass complete to number 22, Quentin Griffin.
What a day Quentin Griffin has had. Flag is down late.
What a nice little play that Oklahoma can go to. Looks like it's a hold on the Sooners, but the way that Huepel works that shuttle pass to Griffin.
Holding on the offense. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. Repeat second down.
Huepel does such a nice job of selling the pass and then waiting till the last possible second to deal the ball off underneath. And obviously it's a safe play because if the ball goes to the turf, it's not a fumble, it's an incomplete forward pass. And Griffin getting a lot of mileage out of that play over the course of this early season.
Huepel's going to run for it. No hesitation. First down. On 2nd and 15, and the key to that play, no hesitation. He saw it and took it, and that's what a senior quarterback will do.
And I know his quarterback coach, Chuck Long, is going to say, hey, you know, I appreciate your valor here, and there's some courage shown as he tries to pick up the first down and does, but, you know, this is a 49-7 game, Josh, and there wouldn't have been any problem there if you would have taken a knee a yard or two before the first down stage.
Last week, Huepel threw a big block on a touchdown run by Antoine Savage on a reverse, putting his body on the line. Griffin Jim's in trouble with the turf.
Handoff goes
It is
to
not
number
raining now. In fact, it's about as bright as it has been here in Dallas over the last couple of days. But damage to the field long since done. And the damage to the psyche of the Texas Longhorns, we'll just have to wait and see.
So much was said of Oklahoma not having the running game a year ago. The 17-zip lead and eventually losing 38-28 in that one. The Sooners have flashed some running game in this football game. The first half, they had some real success on the ground.
The middle screen is wide open for Fagan. And he's not done. 15, 20 yards at a time. They have just gobbled up yardage against a Texas defense which had been so impressive.
Oh, we talked about Huepel and how well he's played in this one, and the offensive line has done a great job. But Huepel has so many weapons. A great crew of receivers, some big play threats, some possession guys. I mean, across the board, you got Savage, Fagan, Norman made a couple big plays in the first half. Woolfolk with the touchdown. Trent Smith at tight end made some big plays in this one already. And Huepel just picking whoever he needs on any particular play to pick up yardage. And he has had a lot of success spreading the ball around in the 2000 season, Sean.
And they are all very young. The majority of the receivers, Fagan is a sophomore, Mackey, Savage, Woolfolk, these are all sophomores. Now, although Huepel will be gone next year, they feel like they got a pretty good quarterback to come in and take his spot. Nate Huepel is a transfer from Georgia. The plan is for him to come in and play next year, and he is going to have a great and experienced group of receivers when he takes over next year. Griffin with another monstrous hole. How often do you see an offensive line dominate in a game of two top 25 teams against each other the way Oklahoma's has today?
And the Oklahoma staff was focused and frankly very concerned about the athleticism and the physical nature of this defensive front four for Texas. All week long they talked about we need to match up front with the defensive line for Texas, and they have won that battle. I know the Longhorns have missed Sean Rogers some, but that has not been the difference. Oklahoma's offensive line just flat out playing Texas.
Quentin Griffin rolling his way possibly towards a 5th touchdown.
As you mentioned, Sean, 50 points, the most points scored by either team in this long storied rivalry.
It's kind of hard to believe if you think about it.
50-0 Oklahoma back in 1908. And Oklahoma getting ready to blow the lid off that record.
Probably not a lot of shotgun four receiver sets back in the 1908 game. Huepel put it to the middle from the tight end Trent Smith. And a rare incompletion. 5th incompletion for Huepel today. Oklahoma made themselves a player in the BCS race now, without question. They will go into Manhattan 5-0. They have Nebraska ahead on their schedule after Kansas State. Many of you are going to see Nebraska coming up here at the conclusion of our game.
Look at Florida State.
Wow.
There's certainly going to be some extra room in the top 10. The Seminoles fall.
The 5 Clemson will play a little bit later. Some of you will see that one on ABC against NC State. Huepel just tucks it.
Josh Huepel on the key, forced out of bounds at the 20-yard line.
And, well, Oklahoma actually have to settle for a field goal.
Huepel, we talked about how he's improved with his mobility and had just an unbelievable game so far. Very accurate from the pocket. Maybe should be thinking about keeping the ball in bounds there. I know you got 9:20 to go in the third quarter, but you're sitting on a 42-point lead.
Tim Duncan will try a 37-yarder. That is wide left. Duncan has been up and down in the last couple of years, but today it is not going to matter. The Sooners fail to score, and today that's news. The 55th consecutive sellout in the history of this game here at the Cotton Bowl today, and the game has sold out. The Oklahoma Sooners have gone all out. They stopped Texas 3 and out on the Longhorns' first possession. They scored on a touchdown pass from Josh Huepel, and they never looked back. 14-0 at the end of one, 42-7 at the half. Sims' pass is deflected and incomplete. To Times Square Stadium in New York. Terry Gannon's got an update on Mr. Michael Vick.
Sean, thank you. Number 3, Virginia Tech being tested by the Temple Owls. The Owls pulled with an 8, but here comes Michael Vick. The leap to the end zone. Add that to the highlight reel from 5 yards out. 28-13. The Hokies rolling now. Sean.
All right, Terry. Remember Temple won in Blacksburg a couple of years ago. Their first trip back since then. And exactly a lopsided scoreboard. Michael Vick put a hurting on Boston College last week. Running the football on second down. Sims, who has had a real difficult day, and it just got worse. How about Rocky Calmus? Returned an interception for a touchdown earlier today. He has played through extraordinary injuries in his career, and is paying off for him today.
And with the big lead, you can turn those linebackers loose, and not an easy role for Chris Sims to come into this game looking straight down the barrel of that kind of deficit. And Rocky Calmus, in his own right, having a pretty big game himself.
Playing with a cast on his left thumb. He didn't miss a snap in practice with a broken finger. Played last year against Oklahoma State in that big rivalry game with a broken leg. Sims takes a timeout. Heading to the sidelines to figure out a 42-point play. Well, Horns will try to hook the third quarter, maybe. Isn't that the beauty of youth? You can just let a 49-7 game roll off your back and enjoy a Saturday afternoon at the Cotton Bowl.
Eternal optimism.
It's wasted on the young, is it not? Sims has it break down. He's got a man wide open. Finds him. Chad Stevens, the fullback, and they have themselves a long first down completion back to Times Square Stadium in Terry.
Sean, we've got a ball game going on in West Lafayette all of a sudden. The Boilermakers inching back. Montrell Lowe, a 16-yard touchdown run. They're within 5 now, 28-23. Michigan still with the lead. Ross-Ade Stadium. Sean.
All right, Terry. It's been a year in the Big Ten. The ever-dramatic sideline warning draws jeers from, I think, both halves of the 75,000 at the Cotton Bowl. The Big Ten is turning in, because of teams like Northwestern and Purdue playing Michigan tough, maybe it's not as dominant at the top of the conference as it has been, but it's really a pretty fascinating race.
Yeah, it's going to be decided late. I really give the edge to Michigan, especially if they can come out with a win. Purdue, of course, they got that big early November matchup coming up with Northwestern.
Sims flares it out incomplete. Second unit Texas offense trying to make a run. Well, tomorrow, the PGA Tour's fall finish is in full swing. ABC Sports travels to Virginia for final round coverage of the Michelob Championship at Kings Mill. That's tomorrow, live at 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific on ABC. Call this second unit offense at Texas the Storm. In fact, they call them that because they don't like people like us calling them the second team offense. Sims completes one to the tight end Mike Jones. Just what Texas did not need. The insult has already been inflicted. Now they're going to need to avoid injuries like this in a big conference game next week.
Now Sims getting some work in the pocket with some protection finally, and that's what he brings to the table for Texas, is that athletic ability, that gift of using the feet, strong arm. And Jones shaken up, still down on the turf.
Mike Jones, the tight end, and a spot for Texas that has already been devastated by injury. They lost Bo Scaife, who was going to be their starter in the first practice in the fall.
Things look pretty good at that tight end position for Texas entering the season. And first day of fall, things got a whole lot worse in a hurry.
A true freshman, Brock Edwards, 84, on the bottom right of your screen, replaces Mike Jones. Third down has been a problem for Texas. Sims flares it out. He's got Williams, but where are they going to mark him? Short.
Now they are going to mark this one short. And Roy Williams might be the most storied high school recruit from West Texas in high school football, at least Texas high school history, and size 15 feet, tremendous track athlete.
Chips don't get much bluer than Roy Williams. He came to this game last year as a recruit here at the Cotton Bowl, sat in the stand, and heard the public address announcer make an announcement every time Roy Williams, the Oklahoma safety, made a tackle. And he would hear, tackle by Roy Williams, and he would think, next year, they're going to be announcing my name. He probably did not envision a score like this on the board, however, at the time.
No, and Roy Williams on the other side of the football has had quite a game, as has the rest of the Oklahoma defense. But last week against Oklahoma State, the receiver, Roy Williams, for Texas, it was his 2 plays in the passing game, 2 big passes from Major Applewhite that got this Texas offense kick-start. And it hasn't happened today.
There is the other Roy Williams, sophomore safety, who has been exceptional this year for Oklahoma. On fourth down, I believe he's got this. They gave him just past the 41-yard line. This is where he needed to get.
Yeah, it looked like we're going to spot this one as a first down for Texas. And Sims is a big kid. 6'5", 222 pounds. Of course, the son of Phil Sims, Super Bowl MVP. And as we said at the top, Sean, he will have his day in the sun.
No doubt.
The difficult thing is there's only 1 year separation between Sims and Major Applewhite. Sims, the sophomore, Applewhite, a junior.
Motion everywhere. Will not get off, and then other flags will fly as Sims took a shot from Ramon Richardson long after the play had been blown down.
Now this opened up with Ryan Fisher in the neutral zone, the defensive tackle, right defensive tackle for Oklahoma. And some extracurriculars in the backfield. And it would figure that tempers are running a little bit high, especially on the Texas side of the football.
About the only thing we haven't had here.
It's going to be an offside call against Oklahoma, and from there it's anyone's guess.
Offside on the defense, 5-yard penalty. Then we have a dead ball, personal foul on the defense, which is additional 15 yards. First down.
Well, among the benefits for Chris Sims in this difficult adjustment period is having a father who played in the NFL and played so very well in Phil Sims to pick up the phone and talk to.
The one thing that he would tell me all the time is just go on to the next play and don't look back at the past, bad or good. You know, just play each situation as it comes to you, and just focus on what you have to do during that moment and not go any farther than that.
Important for young Chris Sims to heed that advice, especially today when things have simply not gone well. Let's look out to Roy Williams. Well, next week, we gave you some different possibilities of games you'll be seeing. Next Saturday, the 3:30 game will be Oklahoma and Kansas State, and by the time those two teams meet in Manhattan, that number to the left of Oklahoma is going to be an awful lot smaller. full menu of games next Saturday. You can be with us. Punch us up on the dish, ESPN game plan, whatever it takes. With Artie Elliott, freshman receiver, in motion. Sims on second down. Another quick out. Williams has got it. And I'll tell you what, Derek Strait almost took a shot at that football. He knew that was coming because they've had some success throwing it short now to Williams.
And when you're playing Williams on the outside, you got to honor the deep speed. And Strait's been watching films of Texas, and he's seen Williams get down the field and make catches in the deep passing game. And Sims starting to get warmed up here at quarterback. And this weather and the cold, Sean, takes a little while to get warmed up if you're a quarterback coming off the bench.
Third down. Hodges Mitchell cuts back, but he won't get it. And took an extra pot from Ante Jones for having the nerve to struggle forward.
So if you look at the history of this football game, usually it's won in the trenches. And Oklahoma has dominated on both sides of the football. Offensively and defensively, they have gotten it done up front.
Texas obviously will go here on fourth down. They were successful on their fourth down conversion earlier on this drive. They are 5 of 7 this year on fourth down. Play clock down to 2. Sims going to throw it deep. He's got Williams down there, and it is knocked down by Michael Thompson. And then very nearly intercepted again. Oklahoma football.
Well, he had Williams on a pump and go. You'll see the arm fake. And Williams creates some separation, but this ball is thrown a little bit late, slightly underthrown, and Thompson almost comes up with an interception. There's the arm fake, but you got to get the ball up quickly, especially with the speed outside of number 4, Roy Williams. Sims not quite enough air under that one. Ball was underthrown, and the Sooners will take over.
Ronaldo works, true freshman. Loses the ball, but it's already out of bounds. A reminder, at the conclusion of today's game, we will select a Chevrolet player of the game from each team. Chevrolet will make a contribution to each university's general scholarship fund. There will be no shortage of candidates for that team.
Sean, you mentioned the coaching staff that Bob Stoops has assembled at Oklahoma and talked about how fascinating it was. A lot of former players and Division I players. We mentioned Chuck Long, the Heisman Trophy runner-up, Cale Gundy, the running backs coach, Jonathan Hayes. People remember him as talented tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Brent Venables, Mike Stoops.
Now it's Griffin. Going to the outside. Well, we've been looking back at some of the recent games in this series. The Red River Shootout. How about 1996? Judge Jeremy Alexander missing one in 95 in a tie game. Well, this time he's the hero. Tying the game at 24. And in the first year of overtime in 1A football, the Red River Shootout went to overtime. James Allen, the short run, giving Oklahoma a 30-27 upset win back in 96.
I don't want to fail to mention Steve Spurrier, the younger.
Pretty fascinating staff, and one which we are going to start hearing an awful lot more about. I have a hunch certainly in the next week to come with Steve Spurrier Jr.'s mentioned and experience of championships as Bob Stoops had coaching for Steve Spurrier as his defensive coordinator. And a pretty fascinating staff, which has done a lot of great things. And I think people were cautious about Oklahoma because of the schedule they played last year, and quite frankly because of their inability to run the ball and hold leads in big games last year. But clearly this team is in the mix, and they deserve to be. Well, coming up Monday night, don't you love it when the best game of the week in the NFL is on Monday night? We've got that this week. Keyshawn Johnson and Warren Sapp. Boy, they got to have a win all of a sudden in a big divisional game against the Minnesota Vikings. Monday night, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific. The Vikings undefeated. Al Michaels, Dan Fouts, Dennis Miller, Eric Dickerson, the cast and crew will be at the Metrodome. Tampa Bay 3-2. The Vikings undefeated, one of the real surprises of the NFL season. This play has worked huge for Oklahoma today, and this might be the biggest one of all. Savage is pushed out inside the 25. Savage ran that for a touchdown last week. Oklahoma has already run it for a touchdown today.
And the end around has been a big play and a nice way to feature Oklahoma's speed on the outside. He almost takes it all the way to the bank. Babers making the saving tackle, and boy, this Oklahoma team, so much talent at the wide receiver position, and Huepel can just sit back there with the protection he's been getting this season from this big offensive line. He can just sit back there and count the house. You know, Sean, you mentioned the schedule a year ago as being part of the question. A pretty soft schedule coming into this game for Oklahoma.
Latrell puts it on the ground. Texas should have it.
Going to number 35, Seth Latrell.
And the first turnover committed by Oklahoma. It has been a problem for Bob Stoops this year.
Well, it has been a problem, and Oklahoma has experienced turnovers in the last several weeks from the wide receiver, tight end, and running back positions. But, you know, when you look up at the scoreboard 49-7 and evaluate how Oklahoma's taken care of the football today, they've done a pretty darn good job.
Oklahoma coaches told us the two most important things coming into this football game today: protect the quarterback. They have done that to perfection, and not turn the ball over, which they don't until 3:04 remains in the third quarter of a 42-point game.
And with the game really no longer in contention, obviously.
Little I formation here for Texas. Sims under a lot of heat, and down he goes. Roy Williams coming on the safety blitz.
Now, when we talked to the Texas staff this week, they made mention more than once that Oklahoma loves to get those safeties involved up near the line of scrimmage. They're a 7-man defensive front with safeties involved, and they can get to 8 or 9 men on the line of scrimmage very quickly. A great play in the backfield by the experienced strong safety.
Now Roy Williams. No one's going to be quiet about this Oklahoma team. You can't keep it down. You've just won your rivalry game on national television by a huge score. It is on the ground, and guess what? Oklahoma's got it back. Michael Thompson. They make one mistake all day, and they recover it, make up for it about 30 seconds later.
And Thompson's going to be the one. Watch him strip the ball with that right hand, and then he makes a recovery.
Montrell Flowers, one of the experienced receivers on this Texas team.
I mean, that is a big-time effort by Thompson. And Mack Brown, if he could take this team off the field right now and get in the bus and head back to Austin, I think that would be his first choice.
He will most certainly have their attention heading into the game at Colorado next week. Quentin Griffin continues on his drive for 5. He has 4 touchdowns in the bank. And Oklahoma is down to the 8-yard line here.
There were some questions about the Texas running game. Not a lot of questions about the Texas defense coming into this football game, but Oklahoma has exposed some concerns, I would say, Sean.
That might be the understatement of the young afternoon. A team that was in control of the Big 12 South with a win today, as Griffin has his 5th touchdown of the day. The sophomore from Aldine, Texas.
Well, Oklahoma is not supposed to have this type of success with the running game in the red zone. They're a spread-it-out ball club. Granted, they use a tight end and sometimes two tight ends, but they have had great success, especially with Quentin down near the goal line this afternoon.
Duncan adds another extra point for the first time in the history of the Red River Shootout. One of the two teams has broken the 50-point barrier. 5 touchdowns today for Quentin Griffin.
Well, and when you spread teams out in short yardage situations, you can take defenders out of the box, away from the line of scrimmage. And Griffin, a nice job of using his vision. Big holes being opened up by this active offensive line for Oklahoma all afternoon long. And you know, when they're passing out game balls, I think you give out 5. One to each member of that offensive line, because that was the group that established control early in this football game, and they have not relinquished it, Sean.
Their only competition today came from the defensive line.
Exactly. And the defenders are saying, hey, come on, Nori, you know, give us a little credit here. And certainly the defense has come up huge against the Longhorns.
Griffin, as we mentioned, one of the few starters on the Oklahoma team from the state of Texas. There was a time in this game where 10, 11, 12, 13 of the Oklahoma starters would be kids from the state of Texas. He was not recruited by Texas. Duncan has a shot, doesn't get it. Ike will be caught from behind and pulled down. Michael Thompson drags down Victor Ike.
Well, Ike is a number 3 running back, number 2 on the depth chart, but with the game last week from Hyder sitting at number 3, and again, one of the rare big plays from the Longhorns all afternoon. Nice run, though, by Ike, the young sophomore.
Ike, the 3rd tailback on this Texas team, as the Longhorns look for something, anything to take out of this afternoon. All they will really have to show for it is a lot of playing time for Chris Sims. Hodges Mitchell has been pummeled from pillar to post. Coming up Thursday night on ESPN. Game will be in the Big East on Thursday night. Virginia Tech, you saw them handling Temple today. They will host West Virginia down in Blacksburg. Mike Tirico from Broom Street, Lee Corso, Dr. Jerry Punch. Be down in Blacksburg for this one. I hope Lee Corso gets a different rental car this time in Blacksburg. I hope they lease him one after his little problem with his rental car last time. He was hit by lightning the last time he was at Virginia Tech.
I remember the Mountaineers gave him a lot of problems a year ago.
But nowhere near the kind of problems that Chris Sims has faced today. Corey Callan's the sack.
And it looked like his buddy on the inside, Corey Klein, gave him some help as well. This defensive front for Oklahoma has slugged it out with big success. And this is a mammoth offensive line that they're lining up against.
Oklahoma in command. Back with more after a word from our ABC station. Well, Dave, Texas has been a great fourth quarter team this year.
This one was decided a long time ago. Texas had an opportunity to maybe get back in the game towards the end of the second quarter with a touchdown or two, but Oklahoma having none of it.
Sims has time, goes end zone, incomplete, might get a flag, and we do. Intended for B.J. Johnson.
In the end zone, there is a flag down at that point.
expecting a couple of interference calls against Oklahoma here in the second half. Sooners led 14-0 after one, 42-7 at the half. Sooners took the lead 3.5 minutes into this game.
Pass interference on the defense. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
Back north we go to Times Square Stadium and Terry Gannon.
J.T. Thatcher's punt return in the first half was one of the key plays that got this route underway. He's one of the more underrated punt return men that you'll find across the country.
They get in motion. Huepel will hand off to Quentin Griffin. I'm a little surprised, that Josh Huepel is still the quarterback here for Oklahoma.
You'd think that 56-14 lead, you might want to protect your quarterback. We said at the top that Huepel, the centerpiece of the entire program for Stoops, and you would hate to see him go down with an injury while the game is no longer an issue.
You would think they would want to get Nate Huepel an opportunity to play in this game since he presumably is going to play in the next couple of years. It's Fagan again in motion. Quentin Griffin still going strong, turns the corner. It's knocked out of bounds after another 16 yards for him.
One thing that has surprised me in this football game, and it's been the ease with which Oklahoma has moved the ball on the ground. And they came out throwing the football, great protection up front from the big guys along the offensive line, but once they opened up that big lead, they were able to sustain a running game throughout the first half, and it has continued here into the second half. That was not the case a year ago.
81 yards, 5 touchdowns for Quentin Griffin. He's going to stick on 81 here as he barely gets back to the line of scrimmage.
Sean, last year in this football game, Oklahoma gained 15 yards on 18 carries. 15 yards on 18 carries. It was the lowest rushing total in Oklahoma's history in this rivalry game.
Kenny Hyder moments ago scored the touchdown that trimmed this Oklahoma lead down to a narrow 42. Shotgun. As Griffin again just continues to roll up huge numbers. Approaching 100 yards. Already matched the school record with 5 touchdowns. First ever to do that against Texas.
They took away a year of eligibility from Griffin last year. In fact, after the 7th game, and injury to Thornton, the starting tailback for the Sooners, brought in Griffin, and in his first start against Iowa State, went over the 100-yard mark.
Is always, I mean, it's such a dilemma for a coach, especially when you get to that point of the season. You're around Halloween, you're thinking, do I want to take a redshirt off of there? But obviously they needed him in the stretch. Look at Huepel throwing back across his body. Trent Smith, the tight end. Inside the 2. How calm, cool, and collected is number 14. 51 yards on the catch and run.
He has become so good in the pocket, moving, getting reset, and delivering the football. And Smith, he's come up pretty big himself in this football game. The pocket closes in. Hampton, the consensus All-American, haven't called his name much this afternoon. And Huepel working with that big offensive line. From the score.
Well, they're going to go back to number 22. This could be a record that stands for a while. Griffin can't get in. Could be one of the ones you're showing your grandkids. I remember that day. Quentin Griffin ran for all those touchdowns.
game, less than 11 minutes to go. The score 56-14. Wow.
Wells is fullback. Griffin sitting on the edge of history. He didn't get it.
And that went to number 22.
Everyone in crimson trying to convince him to get across the line, but he's going to have to be on third down.
Well, initially, the Texas defensive front stout. They make the stop. Griffin keeps those feet moving, and the size of the pile made it a little bit difficult to see whether he broke the plane. Good thing for Quentin, he's going to get another crack right here.
A touchdown in the first quarter, 2 in the second, 2 in the third.
Everyone in the stadium knows where the ball's going here.
6 touchdowns for Quentin Griffin. And if Quentin's grandkids are watching this tape in the VCR, if they still use VCRs in the years 2050, he was all that and more today. It's a game they will talk about in Norman for a long time to come. Are they ever going to enjoy the drive back north? Complete and utter dominance from start to finish. Quentin Griffin, 6th touchdown of the day. It makes it 63-14. On the phone, you want to get a little closer on that one. Oklahoma won the opening toss. I was trying to summarize the turning point of the game, and that is what I think I've come up with. They deferred, stopped Texas 3 and out. They have been on a roll ever since. And their momentum is going to take them back up the 3 hours to Norman.
Football falling off the tee right there is about the only thing that's gone wrong for the Sooners in this football game. And Sean, look at that.
49 is the number right now. 63-14.
Well, and 50 points, coincidentally, was the largest number of points ever scored in the game. So Oklahoma, with a 63, bettered that significantly.
Jimmy Stewart, backup place kicker, puts one through the end zone. The college football on ABC Sports brought to you by Dodge and nearly 3,000 dealers who invite you to come see what's different. By Burger King, got the urge? By Ameritrade, it's how you get somewhere on Wall Street. And by Thrifty Car Rental, the car you want, the service you expect, all at a low rate, just what you want, just Thrifty. That was never one of my best one was the game, the one you shoot the water into the clown's mouth in the balloon. You pop the balloon first. It's carnival games. What are the ones you were?
Sean,
You probably red dogged everyone on that throwing the football through the, not realizing what a talented scholarship athlete you were. B.J. Johnson.
so that's not the first time you've let me know about your prowess, especially at state fairs.
You know, in my younger days, I would have been out there with the fried pickles and the. It all passes you by. As I said, it's wasted on the young.
I used to work the dunk tank pretty well, but
Giving or receiving?
on the receiving end. It's a great way to meet girls.
Is that right? Well, Texas has been the victim of the dunk tank here this afternoon, early and often. That's the kind of defensive aggressiveness we have seen from Oklahoma all afternoon long. Well, coming up next, most of you will see number 1 Nebraska. They may end up number 1 in both polls by the time this day is over, with Florida State losing their game. Battle of unbeaten. Some of you may see in the ACC, NC State and Clemson. Also Arizona, USC, and Ohio State, Wisconsin. That was, by the way, Teddy Lehman, true freshman, made that tackle. Now the bench is starting to empty a little bit. Sims should have had another one picked off. He was looking for Williams, and Williams hangs on to that. We might have ourselves a foot race.
Well, they really like to use that quick slant with Chris Sims in the ball game, especially with Roy Williams. And Roy Williams with the size on the outside, it's a great route to go to, but you have to be safe with the football. And early in this football game in the first half, when Sims was inserted, Rocky Kalmus, the linebacker, stepped in front of Sims and took it the other way for 6.
High snap. Stockton gets it away. Thatcher calls for the fair catch and makes it. 7 minutes and 56 seconds separate Oklahoma from their biggest win in the history of this rivalry. Last year, Oklahoma had so much difficulty playing on the road. They gave up 30 points a game when they were away from Norman. But today, their first game away from their home campus today has been one they will be talking about for decades. Nate Huepel, who we talked about earlier, the transfer from the University of Georgia, sophomore from Hazelhurst, Georgia, has taken over for Josh Huepel.
Run to the snap. Ball start. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
Huepel threw for 275 yards today. Look at those numbers, 27 attempts. How efficient is that? And I was so impressed with the guy who doesn't have the greatest arm strength in the world and doesn't impress you when you watch him on tape and you don't go, wow, what a dynamic quarterback this is. But his decision-making was excellent.
We're going to take it for another sneak peek into a great one in West Lafayette. On the finish of that game right now, back to Dallas in the Red River Shootout.
And with as much momentum as Works almost got free, and he's close to a first down. It should be 4th down for Oklahoma. A question now, very seriously, back in Austin becomes what happened to this Texas team. It is so difficult to get up after this game anyway when you put so much into it. Well, what happened when you put your blood, your sweat, and your tears into this rivalry game and you get taken to the woodshed, as the Longhorns have been today? This is a very good football team. Clearly, they have not played like the number 10 team in the nation here today, but this is a team that 3 hours ago still had national championship aspirations.
I don't think this team is as good as a lot of people thought to enter the season.
Miscommunication on the snap. That's going to be Texas ball anyway. Down.
And, you know, Texas, even Mack Brown said when they went into Stanford, they weren't as good as a lot of people thought. Oklahoma further exposing those worries.
There is no hiding from this one. And you have to feel for the seniors like Joe Walker playing in their final game here at the Cotton Bowl, their final Texas-Oklahoma game at the Cotton Bowl. Big hit by Straight and pounds Kenny Hyder after the pass reception. But the story today was not a senior, but a sophomore for Oklahoma by the name of Quentin Griffin. A touchdown in this Red River Shootout is an accomplishment. 2 is a day to remember. I don't know what you're supposed to say about a 6th touchdown day, which is what the sophomore, the Texas native, has accomplished here, running behind his huge offensive line. Here comes the 5th touchdown. This is in the 3rd quarter, and then earlier in the 4th quarter on a 3rd try after a 1st and goal, Quentin Griffin got his 6th touchdown. Sims hit as he throws.
Well, and everybody's going to remember Griffin for many years to come. They won't remember the offensive line, but they should, because that record belongs just as much to the big fellas up front as it does to Griffin. They made things pretty darn easy for Quentin once the Sooners drove down close to the goal line. And you got to give Huepel some credit as well for engineering those drives.
Third down has been a problem for Texas all day. Sims running for his life. Goes it away. Texas 3 of 14 on third down today. Those numbers are not good. Let's talk about Oklahoma right now on third down, David Norrie. 11 of 14.
Well, that's
scary.
execution. That's game plan by the offensive coordinators, Coach Mangino and Coach Long and Huepel. Just a wonderful game at quarterback, and the most important position on the football field is the offensive line, and the Sooners. I mean, I've been talking about them all day, but I have been so impressed by both the pass block. The pass blocking really stands out. I mean, they have kept Huepel alive in the pocket all day long, but they have also been successful in getting that run game going. Taking the officials a while to sort this one out. There were 2 flags on the play. I think the first is going to be a hold on Texas.
Any way you shape it.
Got a hold on the offense. I got roughing the passer. On the defense, they cancel out. Replay.
11 of 14 on third down is simply off the page. Here's another look.
Well, the first flag is already on the turf, the holding call, and Sims is just going to throw this one away. And a little hello coming late there from
the 47.
the Sooner defense.
Maybe this week in Austin, they won't be talking about quarterbacks. They got bigger fish to fry. Brock Edwards, that's the true freshman tight end with his second career catch. And is good enough for a first down. Coming up Monday night, you don't get any bigger than this on Monday Night Football. How big is this game for Keyshawn Johnson and Warren Sapp, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as they go in to face the undefeated Vikings at the Metrodome. 9 o'clock Eastern. 6 o'clock Pacific.
First down 10.
We'll be on the couch for that one, I can guarantee you. Sims flares it out. Again, that's Brock Edwards.
Sims pass.
Short completion that mercifully will keep that clock rolling.
Chris Sims, with the injury to Applewhite in the bowl game, got a great opportunity to get literally all the reps in spring. And that's where he made the big strides. And Mack Brown talked about the great confidence. Greg Davis, the offensive coordinator, the great confidence that he was playing towards the end of spring ball. And, you know, that's all good, Sean, but, you know, the game experience is where you really make the biggest step.
Incomplete. And out of the hands of Brock Edwards again, stopping the clock. And we've talked about the Big 12 South. We've talked about BCS national implications as we take another look at the drop pass after Brock Edwards hit from behind. But the game within the game, the battle within the battle, recruiting between Texas and Oklahoma. And don't think this 63-14 won't be in every pamphlet, every newsletter that comes out of Norman.
It will not go unnoticed north of the Red River, that's for sure. And I think that's why we saw Huepel in the game so long.
Sims' pass is deflected and falls incomplete. It'll bring up fourth down. Bobby Jack Wright is the defensive ends coach for Oklahoma, longtime recruiter as an assistant coach at Texas for 12 years. And he is now with Bob Stoops up in Norman. Had 19 Texans have committed in the 2 years to go to Oklahoma, and they are looking for a whole lot more because there is, with the possible exception of Florida, and I say possible, there is no more fertile ground for Division I college football players.
J.T. Spencer, deep to receive.
Stockton, a busy man today.
We were talking, Sean, about the heritage. 9 national championships between these two teams.
Guess which half of the crowd was the Texas side? The one that is warm in their cars right now. How many more big plays do they have in the arsenal? Works is knocked out of bounds. New quarterback for Oklahoma. It's Works to the outside. Patrick Fletcher is the new quarterback for Oklahoma. He will get a series here. Flags down. Is going to come back.
Remember Patrick Fletcher a couple years ago, big hometown favorite, the walk-on. Ended up playing in 5 games for the Sooners. It actually started a game back in 1998, prior to the Stoops.
Holding on the offense, 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul, and then dead ball, personal foul on the offense.
I like when they throw you. And then.
Well, things are starting to degenerate a little bit, and that can happen in a 63-14 game. We talked about the emotion in this football game. It gets a little bit more emotional when a team's down by 49 points.
Talk about getting experience in games as Patrick Fletcher comes in. Hey, he's already got a touchdown in this game. He threw one last year to Tim Duncan on a fake field goal.
Absolutely right.
This is an old hat right now.
Cut the lead to 31-28 late in the third quarter in this game a year ago.
Works is taken down. The executive producer of ABC Sports is Howard Katz. Executive producer of ABC's College Football is John Filippelli. Director of Production, Bob Toms. Coordinating producer, Bob Goodrich. Our producer today, Jim Wessler. Director, Jeff Wynn. Technical Director, Mike Blazo. Associate Director, Dave Lilling. Production Manager, Christy Bravey. Technical Manager, Jim Licata. Assistants to the producer, Elizabeth Reel, VP Fossil. Statistician, Craig Fowler. Computer statistics handled, as always, expertly by Tim Goodman. Oh, the Sooner schooner. If let's put it this way, if it had gas, it'd be out of it by now. Of course, they didn't even let it on the field because of the weather. Been sitting in that tunnel, watching the carnage. So, how real a deal is this team, David Norrie? It's 5-0 going into Manhattan.
I don't know with the way they've played this afternoon. That 47-game win streak that Bud Wilkinson put together might be in danger.
There's Works again, getting some, and they might not have to snap it again. There have been many surprises in the history of this rivalry. This is not an upset here today, but the margin of victory and the sheer dominance at the line of scrimmage has been stunning. There is a new player in the BCS title chase, and it resides in Norman, Oklahoma. An exceptional performance, start to finish. The Sooners are 5-0.
The city of Dallas belongs to the Sooners tonight. And Bob Stoops, what a job preparing this football team.
It was never a contest. Not from the opening bell. Oklahoma is 5-0 in impressive fashion. They didn't need a Sooner schooner today. They needed a Lamborghini with all the points they put up on the board today. It was never a contest on a day that will be remembered for 6 touchdowns scored by Quentin Griffin. Josh Huepel, the senior, in his final Red River shootout was enormous in his decision-making today for Oklahoma, who wins more impressively than I think anyone could have imagined.
And in the play up front, offensively and defensively, that was the story. Huepel capitalizing everything went the Sooners' way in this one.
Texas is now 3-2. Oklahoma is 5-0. Heading to Manhattan, Kansas for a Big 12 showdown next week. For David Norrie, I'm Sean Graney. Thanks for being with us from Dallas today. Oklahoma wins big.
Inside this home is everything Oklahoma.